I can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can hear it typing, but I can't hear you. Can't hear you when I take my earpods out either. Can't hear you.
Is that any better?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. All right. There were actually a couple of microphone options for me to choose. So how did I know? This is my first time using this platform, so that's good to know. So that won't happen
No,
again. And that was the good thing about finding that now, and not 4 hours from now.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Good. Very good. So, everyone, this is, I think, let's see, it's 4 o'clock, so we can go ahead and get started. Yeah. And I was just saying, I know there were a couple of people on a few minutes ago, and I was just saying this is the first book launch I've ever done. And so I was waiting for you to come on. This is my my business coach. She is from the UK. Her name is Rebecca Adams. Hello. And I don't know, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, Rebecca, before we get started.
Okay, thank you, Gail, and hi everyone. As Gail said, I'm in the UK. I'm a life business and mindset mastery mentor. I help people internationally to level up their businesses, level up their lives, everything on a whole different level. Everything is all about mindset. And your mindset can actually hold you back, but it can also propel you forward as well. So I'm really excited and really proud of everything Gail's been doing. All of the obstacles that she's overcome with this launch and obviously going live and everything else. Because Gail is a wonderful, kind-spirited lady. And if you know her personally, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. She's absolutely a beautiful and amazing human being. She'll do anything for anybody. And this book is absolutely, hands down, categorically phenomenal. And I am so proud. So if you've not got the book so far, go and grab your copy over at Amazon. Please buy it, read at least 20%, review it, go to the back of the book, review it, and then come back and carry on reading it. Enjoy every moment. It won't take you long. And also, please share it out, tag Gail and everything. I am so, so proud of everything that Gail is doing, everything that she has done this year, everything that she's planning for 2022. I know what these things are, but I'm really excited to be here tonight. And thank you for asking me, Gail, to be on.
Oh, I really didn't want to do this without you. I would just be kind of hit or miss. So I actually had someone who was scheduled for our first guest to come on and talk about her experience with the book. She got very, very sick. She gave me a call and she barely has a voice. I had another guest who was supposed to come on, and then they had a very important meeting that they had to do tonight. So I actually got the chance to record her. Her name is Marlene. She's actually a family member of mine, but we are probably more like friends and sisters in Christ than we are relatives, because for many years we really didn't have a lot of contact with one another, and we've reunited kind of in the last few years. So maybe we'll start with Marlene's testimony. So it'll take me a second. I'm going to share and get that video up for everyone. Okay, and I want to start it. Can you all still hear me? Okay, good, good. All right, we're going to start this right about.
Anyway, I'm ready. You just shoot away.
Okay. Well, Marlene, thank you so much for helping and being part of the book launch. This is so much fun. I'm so excited, and I really appreciate that you took the time to read the book ahead of time and just to offer your feedback and whatnot. But why don't you tell everybody how we know each other? Let's start with that.
Oh, I've known Gail since she's a little girl as part of our family. Never realizing really until it's crazy, but didn't realize how close we were in age. For a long time, I thought that I was much older than her, and it turns out we're only a year apart. So, which is kind of a strange thing, but yeah, through family. So yeah, that's how we met years ago when I married into the family with my husband Carrie. So yeah, that's how we met.
So we've had a number of years where we weren't very close for a while, and then recently we have we've been able to see each other frequently, and we've both become believers since we first knew each other a million years ago.
Yeah.
And so this has been a fun journey with you and Uncle Gary. And
for sure.
You guys have been super encouraging in my life and encouraging me in this new path that I'm on, and that has been such a great encouragement to me. So I really appreciate
that. We believe in everything that you're doing, and you're doing God's work, and so there's nothing better than that at this point in time. So glad we were able to both find that in our lives. That's for sure.
Yes. Me too. Yeah. So you read the book, Mary, Dear Mary, and just overall, what are your thoughts about the book?
I just felt that it was very motivational for people never to give up their dreams, whether they're big or small. It's never too big or never too small. You just have to go for it. And, listen to your heart. And, I just think that it's just gives people hope. It just gives people hope, and I especially liked the part where you bring in scripture verses that talk about a lot of different things in the Bible and just strengthen what you really are talking about in the actual book. So, yeah.
Awesome. What were some of the golden nuggets you pulled out from reading the book?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was, number one, I really feel that you have to believe in something. You definitely have to feel there's definitely a driving force, in the universe, and that is Jesus Christ. I mean, it's not Darwin, it's not this, it's our Lord and Savior, and you have to follow him. And as soon as you do that, your life changes. Your absolute life changes. And you just have to take that leap of faith. And, I'm not very good about speaking about, spitting out the Bible verses, but, it's things that are unseen that is believing, not the other way around. So, like, you have to believe to seeing is believing, but you need to just believe to see. And so for me, because I have had dreams in my life, and I've also had a lot of tragedy and things going on in my life. And for many years, I was upset with God. I thought some of the bad things that happened were due to his faults, just like some of the things that you've been involved, happened to. But I realized that that's not it at all, and so never give up. You just have to, doesn't matter how many times you fail or fall, it's how many times you get up again. So, I think that for me, that was very hopeful for me and to make for a lot of people, and don't compare yourself to other people either. I think you need to do what's in your heart, what works for you, because your dream and your travels along this world, this life, is not going to be the same for everybody, and everybody has a gift. Everybody has a gift. So to give to the kingdom. So
yes, that's right. Absolutely. Yes, that's what I'm most excited about, to encourage people to find their unique blend of God DNA, if you will.
Exactly.
That that we each have been given certain gifts and certain talents, abilities, passions. And I think even God puts certain passions in our hearts just that don't make sense sometimes, because he wants to show us that he will empower and enable us to do things we never thought we could do, which has been my personal experience in my journey.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
it's fun to write about that. So what would you tell, like, say a friend came along and said, well, why should I read this book? What will it do for me? How would you answer that?
Well, for me, I mean, it did give me some peace and understanding, and it just motivated me more to do more and want to do more, and to believe in whatever that you believe in, that it can happen, it can go forward. You just have to put trust. It's all about trust, in God, and things will happen. And you know what? The biggest thing is it's not in our time. It's never in our time. It's in God's time. And so, that's a hard lesson to learn, because sometimes you pray and pray and pray about things and you think, oh, this is never going to happen. This is never going to happen, or I'm never going to understand about some specific thing. But then, you realize that it's never in our timing. It's always in God's timing. But, like I said, the biggest thing for me was, it's not how many times you fail, it's how many times you get up, and don't give up your dreams, no matter how big or little they are. So you just keep going, and then someday it'll happen. It'll happen. You may not be ready for it. You may not be ready for it, but it's going to happen. So you better be ready for it. For sure. So
yeah. I've heard people say, God, if God intends to do something, get something done, he is going to do it. And if you're the one who is going to do it, he's going to get it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So be ready, because it can happen at any time, at any place. It doesn't matter where it is,
Yeah.
For sure.
I've been reading through Psalms lately, and, I'm so impressed by David's continuously saying, how long, God, how long do I have to wait for this answer to prayer? How long, how long? And yet at the same time, he praises him and says, you've done amazing and wonderful things. And, and I trust you, and you are my rock, and you're my salvation. And I'm so encouraged by David's ability to express all the things we feel and struggle with. And I want readers to know that modern day people have the same struggles, but God is still the same God today.
Yesterday and forever. Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Well, one of the things too is that, like you're saying, for praying for things and stuff, and it just popped in my head how in our lives, because with Carrie and I being involved with Meals on Wheels, we've prayed for a new kitchen for 2 years, and nothing happened, and just, kept praying and praying and praying, and, to be able to do something financially or finding the right spot. And what's funny about this is, as you know, we did find a kitchen, and we're in the middle of moving into the new kitchen, and it was right under our noses the whole time. It's literally 3 miles from the original location. So it's been there empty for 4 years. We didn't have any, I know it, but it wasn't the right time. When God said it was the right time, everything fell into place, so there again, he's done his miraculous duties, to help us get where we want to be. But you know, you do have to praise him no matter what, whether you think it's good, bad, or indifferent. And someday it will happen. You just don't know when, you know, but
Right.
like I said, it's his timing, not our timing. So.
Right. Well, I think even you and Uncle Kerry's story about how you got involved in the Meals on Wheels and how it almost fell apart, and then it just was resurrected again. And you know, and I mean, would you have even imagined 20 years ago that you would be doing what you're doing now?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not at
Do
all.
you find it absolutely fulfilling? And
oh my gosh, we can't imagine not having Meals on Wheels in our lives, honestly. And that's just, you know, that's just one part. I always felt that when I retired, I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what, you know. And then Kerry got involved a little earlier than I did, because I was still working full time, you know, but I still did my part on the back end. But then, you know, when Uncle Kerry became, you know, right after we retired, you know, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, and he had a very aggressive type. And so after 3 chemo treatments, he went into remission, and by the grace of God, it's 10 years. And we started to give back more because he gave us a second chance. He actually gave us a second chance. So now, you know, here it is. I'm Saturday afternoon. I'm really not supposed to be working, but I can't help myself. I'm actually here working at the computer, adding more clients, and I just can't help it. It's so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling. And it's just amazing, but it's been an amazing experience, and it's going to continue to grow. I actually just put on 12 more clients just this week. It's just crazy. It just keeps, it's amazing. It's amazing. But anyway.
Well, I love to see how you're serving your community and how you're bringing the Lord to the homes of so many people in South Carolina. And your stories are amazing. So in my case, I had a passion that I've always wanted to fulfill. In your case, you had a passion and you weren't sure what it was. But did you find some of the things in the book, do you think they would have been helpful for you along the way 10 years ago? If you, you know, if God hadn't already just kind of revealed where he was taking you?
Absolutely. Because you know what, the biggest thing is making that first step, you know, like, you know, just to get people encouraged to even just, you know, start reading your book, which is awesome. But just giving yourself a chance to just step into like the light of knowing what could be, you know. So when you start to read that book, you know, you think about all the things that you woulda, coulda, shoulda done, you know, or got lost in the shuffle or whatever. And to me, I just feel like that gave me motivation, even if I was not one that I'm involved as much as I can, you know, but for me, it was like, wake up, people, you know what I mean? This can happen to you, whatever it is, whatever that path that you want to take, you just have to trust. You just have to trust, you know. You know, and praise him for good, bad, or indifferent. You know, it's going to happen. You just have to not give up. Just not give up. You know. So I think it's an awesome book. I think it's very. It'll be great for a lot of different people to read this book, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. So.
Me either. The next one's already written.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So anyway.
Well, thank you so much for helping with the book launch and for reading the book, and just for you and Uncle Kerry have actually been very significant players in the unfolding of events that have taken place this year that are bringing me to this book launch, which is amazing. And so you had to be part of this today.
Well, we appreciate that. But you know what, though? He's the one that led us to this, too. You know what I'm saying? Because of all the years that we were not really connected, and now we're connecting in a big way. That's all him, too. That's all him, too. Every bit of it. And we're excited to be part of that. And I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks, too. So it'll be awesome.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
You too,
and say hi to Uncle Kerry. I can see him passing back and forth behind you a few times.
I wasn't supposed to do that.
I think he wanted me to say hey, but we were too busy talking.
You walked back and forth behind me, so she thought you wanted her to say hello to you. So hi, honey.
Hi. And I see some beautiful artwork behind you as well.
Yes, you do. You do. I was showing my my sister-in-law in North Carolina too about them too. She loved them. She absolutely loved them. So yeah.
All right. Now let's see if I can get this share back off here. All right. And whoops, we don't want to do that. Hold on now. All right, there we go. We're back on. And you can hear me? Can you hear me, Rebecca?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
So I'm just figuring out here how to use the chat box over here. So we've been getting our comments to show up on the live, which is good. So Rebecca, you also read the book. You were one of the first to read the book. And I think it would be great for people to hear what your take has been on the book. And I'll do a little bit of chatting after that. So,
yeah, thank you so much for letting me read the book and, you know, go all over it. I read it straight away. I mean, to be honest, as soon as you sent it to me, I was like, right, I'm making a coffee and I'm going to read. And if anyone knows me, I'm an avid book reader, publish books and everything as well. But once I get into a book, if it's good, I'm not going to put it down. I don't stop. I'll stop to take a bathroom break and go and get another coffee. But apart from that, but the thing is with your book, Gail, is it's absolutely so enlightening as well. Not only do you have this ingenious way of weaving in your wisdom, God's word, and you make everyone feel comfortable while they're reading the book, whether they are religious or not. You make them feel comfortable, and you actually, with your book, your story and the poem as well, is that you actually help people to really get comfortable to answer the questions, which are genius, by the way, to answer the questions for themselves, for their own life, so they can actually evaluate, you know, what's gone wrong in their life, what's gone right, and also, you know, obviously to think about themselves and think of how they can be more empowered and inspired through God's word and also your wisdom. How can they look after their own garden, you know, instead of, you know, the grass is greener or looking elsewhere. It actually isn't. It's green where you water it and where you plant the beautiful flowers, and you can decide what goes in the garden, and you can decide all of that things. And if it doesn't work, you know, in your life or whatever, then what it does is that you've always got choices. You can always change things, and you have this wonderful, beautiful, kind soul that you bring everything in to the entire book itself, and you make people really think on their feet. You know what I mean? With the questions as well. It's an actionable book. So I highly recommend that people grab a notebook and pen with it. And as they're reading the book, sit down and actually take time to answer the questions. Take time to evaluate things. You know, there's no rush, but really look at things and know that you can change things. You can really honor things. And with your stories inside the book as well, Gail, is that you really bring life experiences in there to actually, you know, make people really, you know, have a think that, you know, not everything is white picket fence, and, you know, some things do go wrong. You know, people pass away and, you know, things happen, but you are strong, you are resilient, you can come through the other side. Faith is so strong. Faith, whatever you believe in, is really, really powerful. But it just makes me smile. This book is it's just beautiful and yummy, and it's something that, you know, you can buy yourself, you can gift it to a dear friend, you can take it to church, you can use it in a book club and discuss things. Do you know what I mean? You can give it as a gift, and it really is incredible and amazing. And I truly believe, Gail, that it's for anyone's age. You don't have to be old or young or anything. It's for everybody.
yeah.
Because everybody can get so much goodness out of your book. And I'm so proud of this book. It's absolutely ingenious how you can really help with your words on paper, whether they're buying the Kindle or the paperback. You know, you really can help people really dive deep into their soul, into their own journey, because we are all unique and different. Not every path is going to be the same. You've not walked the same as me, and I've not walked the same as my friends. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But really to know that, number one, you're not alone. Number two, God, faith, whatever you believe in is with you. Trust the process, and always know that, you know, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always good coming out of something. Everything works out the way it's supposed to. And I've not ruined anything. It's absolutely genius, because I'm not trying not to kind of tell everyone what's in the book, because if you want to know what's in the book, you've got to go and get it. Trust me, it'll be the best lot of money you've ever invested in. It really is amazing. And do you know what, Gail, as well, that I'll say to people is that it's a book that you can go back to again and again, so that you can read it, you know, when you're, no matter how you're feeling, happy, sad, whatever's going on in your life, you can always go back to it, and you can always, you know, re-answer the questions again. You may get different answers the second time you ask the questions, the third time you ask the questions. And they could be really great questions to actually ask your children as well, and ask your friends in conversations and things as well. It really is amazing. Really is amazing.
Well, I'm so glad that, one, you read the book, and that you read it so fast, and that your response was overwhelmingly exciting.
I honestly, guys, you've got to get the book. I was squealing down the phone to Gail on the voice notes. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I love it. It just is genius. Gail has a way of really coming across and bringing everything in, that you're not alone. Like, come to Gail, she'll wrap her arms around you. You are not alone. She's with you every step of the way. And the book really, really, oh, it's just tremendous. Just go and get the book, guys. Stop stalling. Go and get the book. The links are all below. It really is amazing.
You know, I'm glad you brought up about age, that it's really, there's no age, a more appropriate age group for this book. I just recommended my grandson get the book. He's 19, and he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. And I said, you know, Brandon, you need to read Grandma's book. You need to get it, and you need to have, because you can have conversation with me. We can talk about things, but you need to have this time where you can really dig deep and really think about, what are the things that you're passionate about? What are the things that you are good at? What you know, what are the gifts that God has given you and the passions God has given you, and really take time to consider how you use those best in your life now, so that it can help lead you into whatever. And, you know, sometimes God surprises us and does something that we weren't expecting. Like, that's what happened to Marlene, right? But, but that's where we start. And I think there's a lot of books on the market that help people think right, do things right, get organized. I didn't want to be another book like that. If you want a book like that, there's enough of them out there. You don't need mine, to be perfectly honest with you. But what I wanted people to see is, not only can I give someone wisdom that I've learned in my life that may add value to theirs, but I want them to know how valuable it really is from where you've come from. And that's why my books tell stories, because I want people to understand I'm not saying I have wisdom in something, or I've learned a lesson in life that I want to pass on to you. With someone reading might just, if that's all that I did, someone reading might just think, well, yeah, she probably lives a perfect life anyway. And I've lived far, 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 far from a perfect life. Even that the dreams and the desires and passions that I am pursuing now are things that I wouldn't even dare think I would be good at anything at one time in my life. And that in and of itself is encouraging to other people and a testimony that needs to be heard, because I think there's just so many people who don't have they don't have a sense of it's okay to like something about yourself and that you want to offer that to the world. That's what we're put on the planet to do. So yes, we need to rise up and acknowledge that in our own selves. And I wanted this book to be the opportunity for people to be able to see that I'm a real person with real problems and real tragedies and real struggles, and where I've come from and why I can say I've learned this and I can pass it on. It doesn't just come because I read another book and I wrote it down and then I repeated it in a book with my own wording. They're truly life lessons. And I think that those are things that are just really important to me. And I think that's what makes it easy for me to write, because I'm so passionate about the transformation that's taken place in my life. And for me to be able to pursue something and expect success at what I do, when at one time I didn't even think I had the ability to do anything. That's really a pretty remarkable thing. So
Definitely.
I love the ability to pass that on to other people. So
Belief is a big
I know we
thing as
have,
well, isn't it?
it's what? Say that again.
Belief is a big, massive thing. You know, as you've just said, you didn't believe back then, but you do now, and now you're moving forward with everything. And I love how
Yeah.
you have, you know, given it to your grandson. Your grandson's reading it and he's working his way through it to really dive deep. I don't think the younger generation give themselves enough credit. It's like, just breathe, just slow down. Let's decide what you want, answer the questions, and then go through there. But yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, I have someone who's supposed to come on at 4:30. So I'm looking here at some of the chats. We've got Maria Harris has said hello to us. And we've had the links here for the books in the UK and also from the .com. Have we had a chance to see what's happening on Amazon at all at this point, Rebecca? I know that's something that you're monitoring during our time. Uh-oh, you've been muted. Did you mute yourself? Can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, I think you can.
I didn't want to interrupt, so I muted myself. So your ranking hasn't moved in the .co.uk, so you're still at the same number, and we're still waiting for the Americas. So yes.
Okay.
I'm still refreshing. I'm still working on everything. Yeah.
That's good. I know it takes time for it to refresh on Amazon. I get that. And there were a few glitches on those uploads. So things just kind of got slowed down in that part of the process, but that's okay. And I think I'm going to send a message to this next person just to make sure that they have the right time and that they're coming on. And let's just see here. So the next person that I have coming on is actually my daughter. I will go ahead and just say that she was really at a crossroads a few years ago, and had to get to a point where she finally realized what she's always been passionate to do and has been pursuing it. She's one semester away from becoming an RN. And that was one of the first big milestones of her journey in life. So I don't want to give away too much, but she has a really cool story, and she absolutely loved the book. And was eager to share. So let me just find out from her if she is still ready to come on.
So can I just say, while Gail is doing that, I'm going to show you the actual front cover of the book. I think you guys can see it. There you go. So it's on a tilt at the moment. So it's Mary, Dear Mary. The links are below. So go and grab your copy. It's absolutely incredible and amazing.
Okay, well, she's not answering. I hope that there hasn't been a something that's held her up. But anyway, I've left her some messages, so hopefully we'll have her on soon. I've been telling some of my neighbors about the book, and I've been sending them the link today. But I've had to explain to a few people that because the book title is Mary, Dear Mary, What's Growing in Your Garden, they thought, oh, is it about like raised bed gardening or rose bushes? Or no, it's not. No, it's and the way that I have been explaining the book is let's see, we've got a comment over here. The way that we have been that I have been explaining the book is that in life sometimes I'm positive other people have felt this way, that there's something we're called to do. I've had this nagging feeling for many, many, many years. There's something that I meant to do, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it. And what I've come to realize is that sometimes in life we grow our own weeds without realizing these are weeds that choke out our dreams. They are weeds that choke out our ability to think we can achieve those dreams. And the book, I hope, will help other people recognize not only the weeds, but how are we continuously replanting them? And how do we actually pluck the weeds out all the way to the root and find the new seeds to plant so that we can have a thriving life, a thriving garden, doing exactly what we were created to do, each of us individually. I love what my Aunt Marlene said about just suddenly having this feeling like doing something, but not quite getting her finger on it right away. It's this unique blend. It's this unique calling that she felt and pursued that, and it's opened up for her. And that is what I would love to see for other people. So I don't know what happened to my daughter. Maybe she'll hop on in a little bit. She does tend to be late. She won't be happy I said that. But I mean, she has a great story, and I love how she's kind of ahead of I want to hear from her. How would this book have helped her had she read the book prior to making this decision to go forward in what she's been doing now? I think that would be really fun to hear. And I haven't asked her yet, so I'm looking forward to hearing her say that. Okay, so we have Lee Ellen on, and let me get Lee Ellen on here, and we'll just have Amy. Okay, so we have Lee Ellen on, and let me get Lee Ellen on here, and we'll just have Amy. Okay, so we have Lee Ellen on, and let me get Lee Ellen on here, and we'll just have.
Hi, can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, I can. That's better. Yes,
Oh,
I think you still had your Facebook on. So
I can't hear you.
okay. Um,
Oh,
can you hear me, Rebecca?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Then it's your audio. Let me see if I can get.
sorry.
That's all right. Let's see here if I can fix that on this end or not. Say, you can hear us, Lee Ellen?
Oh,
Yeah. I can't do anything from this end.
I'm
So,
here, but I'm afraid you're not able to hear me.
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can
I
hear
can't
you.
hear you.
Okay, you can't hear me. All right. Do you have your phone? I'll text you.
Well, if you can hear me, I'll just go ahead and talk. How's that?
Yeah. Perfect.
I love Gail and I love the book. I've only known her for almost 2 years, not quite. We first were connected as I found her to be my health coach, and we walked down that journey very successfully and quickly transitioned to an awareness that we were both sisters in Christ. And then I was able to walk through her journey with COVID and losing Mike and taking some of these first steps towards growing her garden bigger and more beautiful. And was honored to be able to read it ahead of time and loved it. And I just love how Gail said that she found eventually some of her talents that she had all along and didn't realize she had because they were so second nature to her. And I mean, God made us each a masterpiece. He didn't create us wrong. And those little things that, like, I will say, I'm a good listener. Okay, big deal. Can't everybody listen? I don't think that's real special. But that's the way God made me. And He's growing that and letting me know that it was a gift to be able to listen to Gail walk through her grief and sadness with losing Mike. And so just encouraging people, don't overlook those little insignificant talents that you have. Just embrace them and ask God to grow them. And I loved how she said that just an encouragement at the end to keep your God glasses on so you can see the little details that He's writing all over your story and your life. And He is, if we'll just look at those little tiny things that He's doing, they can create and grow a beautiful garden. And one of the lasting takeaways is Gail's love and passion is not to bring glory to herself, although she's a talented author and artist, but all of it is to weave the story to give God the greatest glory. And that's what, so if we say, I just have a little bit of talent, if we give it to our big God, it can become a beautiful big thing. And I would not hesitate to recommend this book to any one of my friends, any one of my grown daughters, or even my granddaughter that's entering the teenage years. It'd be a beautiful read for her. But especially if I knew someone that had had a loss, you can't not get more out of it, but even if you just got to read it and hear the tender, touching story of Gail's journey, you would be blessed. Even if you didn't walk away with the pointers and the encouragement to yourself that you can do this, you can, grow a garden. And I love the image. I'm glad, Gail, it's not about gardening, because I have a totally black thumb. But in God's garden, like we're entering winter and it seems nothing's growing. It's like, what can I do with my garden now? But we can do all that preparation and just letting him soften our heart, looking at those questions. I love how Rebecca said, go back and revisit those questions again, because they'll change. And as Gail and I, when we first met, I had moved from my home in North Carolina to be in Colorado and help start a church plant, which is something I've never done. My husband and I were here with our family, our grandchildren, retired, and here we are, moving across the country. And so I was kind of in that growing garden stage. And, it was just such an encouragement that there's always something we can do and God will use us. And I too, like Rebecca said, you don't need to have a deep faith. I mean, it's a touching story to anyone. I'm definitely in the senior citizens age, and and it's like Marlene, Gail's friend said, God's growing new ventures in our lives all the time. Retirement doesn't mean you're done and you're not continuing to grow and learn. And so it's a beautiful book. It's able to just, again, give us a few questions we can ponder, and hopefully we've gained some wisdom over the years to maybe be able to make those transitions a little easier, or even my mother-in-law was a great gardener. So I know how you can graft plants together and make something new and beautiful. That's not my talent, but we can even graft in the new things that God is showing us to grow something new and different. So it would bless anyone that read it. And I love that it's a quick read. It's a powerful quick read. It's not just, okay, yeah, I just read that, I'm done. But it will stay with you. It's just like a tune that gets in your head, and you just keep kind of humming it as the day goes on. And the blessings of this book, I think, will stick with you and keep encouraging you as the day goes on. So I'm sorry I can't hear you guys, but I love you and I'm so proud of you.
Okay. Well, that was great. She's a sweetheart, and I'm really thrilled that we were able to have someone a little older. And that's one of the things that I love about Lee Ellen is that she and her husband have continued to serve their community and the church in so many ways, even as they've gotten older. And I just love that. Yeah. I just got a message from my daughter. She's actually gotten violently ill this afternoon and isn't going to be able to join us. She's been very, very sick. So I don't know if she contracted something while she was working at the hospital or or whatnot, but she's not going to be able to join us tonight. So I was thinking when Lee Ellen, I had a thought that popped in my head when she was talking. I got distracted by text messages, so forgive me on that. Let me think.
It's okay, you're fine. Just breathe. Just breathe. You're okay. We're sending lots and lots of health. So everyone watching right now, can
Yeah.
everyone send lots and lots of health and healing to Gail's daughter, please?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome. But while you're gathering your thoughts, the book is timeless, it's classic. And as I said, you know, you can go back and revisit the questions, and you can really, it'll help you to grow yourself in knowledge and wisdom and everything. And it really is a life-changing book completely. Do you know what I mean? It really is. And it's so empowering and so inspiring as well. And you know, as your friend said, Lee Ellen said about it, it's a quick read. That's why I said, you know, I read it, didn't stop reading it. I was like, I'm done. And I kept updating you about the book. It really is fantastic. So I'm keeping an eye on Amazon, by the way, as well. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I remembered what I was going to say. So
Okay.
I when she was talking about the questions and going through the questions, and I one of the things that while I was writing the book and I was writing some of the questions and giving people the opportunity to kind of reflect and think and just get quiet, it takes some exercise doing that initially. You know, if you're not used to doing that, I know after my first husband died, having absolute silence absolutely freaked me out. I had not had silence in my entire life. It was a noisy house as a kid. It was, you know, it was noisy when I had my own kids. I always had people around, and all of a sudden I had dead silence when I would walk in the house. It was eerie. But I really learned to appreciate silence and quiet space where your thought and writing is not only something that I'm passionate about because I love to share what I have inside. It just spills out on paper. But also I love to write because it helps me to take all this stuff that's inside. If anybody knows me, anybody that knows me even a short period of time can tell you I am an idea machine. Yeah. There's a lot rolling around up here in this head, and I would probably just like be insane or something if I couldn't write it down where my brain can see it, sort it, process it. And when I was writing the book, I thought about, you know, leaving spaces in the book for people to maybe jot down answers as they were reading it. And I said, no, this book isn't going to be the workbook. This is just going to be the launch for other people, you know, for people reading to find their own way to process what they have inside. So I recommend that you just get a big notebook, because I thought if you had a question and I gave you 5 lines, but your answer over months' time required 5, 6, 10, 12, 15 pages, you know, my 5 lines would steal away what you could have experienced if you had had the room and the time to just write. And also, I think writing and journaling kind of freaks people out. A lot of people don't like doing it. I actually have another book that I'm working on. I'm not going to tell you very much information on, except to say that I've developed this little phrase that I call jotting. So if you don't like journaling, try jotting. Jotting is when you take a thought and you're the only one reading your journal, right? So when you're writing, like if you have a journal, no one else is reading it. You're not writing it for anyone else. If you're like me, I have a big, thick notebook, a 5-subject notebook, spiral notebook I use every single morning. I write my prayers out. And I know God sees those prayers. But in my journal, God sees what's in my journal, but no one else sees the things I write. So it doesn't matter if my writing's scribbly and no one else can read it. It's probably better that no one else can read it. And but God knows what it says. So sometimes I'm whispering as I go along anyway, which is also helpful while you're journaling. But it isn't necessary to write in sentences. If you write enough that you know what it is, that's good enough. So it doesn't have to be 15 pages like it would be for you and me, Rebecca. It can be, 15 different words, as long as each one, you know what that word represents. So, I don't want anybody to freak out about the fact that there's questions, and that maybe it's wise to take some time to reflect and to write and to jot down thoughts. But in order to do that, you really have to get quiet. Getting quiet will actually help you get more comfortable with you. It will actually help you become more welcoming of yourself in your space. And as you do that, think of your journal as a friend that knows you better than anybody else ever could. And that's the advantage to jotting or journaling, is that you get the chance to write things down that maybe swirl around in your head, or have been deep in your heart, and you've never really looked at it, or you've never really considered it. I know of a man, I don't know this man, but I know of a man whose wife passed away, and he did not want to face his grief. He was adamant. He wasn't going to grieve. He did not want to go to this painful place. And so he got a cat to replace his wife. And that was fine for a while, until the cat died 18 years later. And when the cat died, he was unexpectedly went into grief, and he realized that he had never processed what he experienced 18 years before, and that it didn't go away just because he ignored it. It was there. It was always there. And when the cat died, now there wasn't a cork pushing it down and keeping it in. It spilled out all over the place. And at that point, he had to process that. Everything we experience in life, we really have to process in order to grow from it, not ignore it. When my first husband died, I used to take pictures out when my grandkids would come, and we would look at the pictures, and the kids were little then, and the 3 little kids would get up on my lap, and we would cry and cry and cry, and we'd talk about Papa, Grandpa. And my kids one day said, why do you do this when we come over? You get all these pictures out and you make everybody sad. And I said, no. I'm not making everyone sad. Everyone's already sad. I want to give everyone the opportunity to process our sadness and talk about. And I said, these pictures, I am going to keep looking at these pictures, and I will cry, and I will cry, and I will cry. But I will keep looking at the pictures until I can smile at the memories again. And that's when I know I will be healed of my grief. And it takes time to do that. It also takes intention to do that. And if we're looking to make a change in direction in our life, many people have lost jobs because of COVID. And maybe there's people considering, maybe it's time for me to pursue something I've really always wanted to do. What could that look like? Write that out. Write that out, because if it stays in here and we don't begin to process it, we can't begin to fully give it energy and give it vision and begin to see how it could fit and what steps could be taken to get there. And what do I need to do to prepare myself for that? Like with my daughter, she needed to go to school. Now that she's not on, I'll share that story. So she actually was working for a chain restaurant. And I don't even remember the details, to be honest, in the first job, but they let her go. And she was really surprised because she thought she was working, like they were talking about putting her in a promotion soon. But I think there was some conflicts with some of the employees, and they let her go. And so she actually was able to get a job in the same chain, but in another location. And something happened in that job and they let her go. And she was like, Mom, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. And I've lost 2 jobs. And I love working here. And she got a job in a third location and she was let go from that one as well. And none of it made any sense to her. And so she went back and she just took time. Like I said to her, look, you're not working. You're not going to get another job with them. Take time to figure out what's God trying to show you. Your life is being redirected. When Mike died, my second husband, my life was being redirected again. And it took time for me to sit down, calculate what are the things that I've done in my life? What do I love most? What adds value to other people's lives about me? How does that play in? How does that fit in the mix? So how do I put all that together? What do all those puzzle pieces look like? What is it supposed to look like when those all come together? But you can only find those puzzle pieces when you begin to dissect them, pull them out. Like when you're working on a puzzle, you have to find all the edges first, right? Lay them all out and then lay all your colors out. It takes sorting. It takes laying a foundation before you can actually begin to put the puzzle together. And that is what Dear Mary is intended to do for the reader. I see you're muted. You want to add something? You're probably biting your tongue, right?
No, I was actually commenting as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of lots of things in people's lives. And, you've just shared your daughter's story because she hasn't able to come on. But, so many people watching right now, and even if you're on the replay as well, you'll understand, you'll be able to relate to everything that Gail's just said. Because what happens is that you are being redirected. Things start going wrong and you're getting stressed and you're getting angry and you're getting sad and you're getting upset and everything else. But you've got to see it for what it is. You've got to trust the process and really know that, as Gail said, you are being redirected off somewhere else. And you've just got to know that you are being guided into the direction. And just have faith. So it's a bit like driving a car. You've got all the fog in front of you. You've got your lights on full beam. You trust and know that road, you're driving your car. You are going to get to your destination. You might not be able to see anything because it's so foggy and misty and everything, but you trust and have faith and know in yourself. Mm-hmm. I know with me, I slow down a little bit and I breathe because obviously I can't see further ahead. Right. But and have utmost faith that you are going to get to your mom's house, your dad's house, wherever you're going. And that's what you need to do with your life. And sometimes things get you off course and everything, but you then go deep within yourself. Right. And you get bigger, better, bolder, wiser, stronger, knowing that, okay, deep breath, you're not meant to go off on that journey. You're not meant to have that job. You're not meant to be in that relationship. Things you're meant to move house, wherever, country, wherever. But it's all going to work out. But you have to be, as I've just said, you've got to nurture, you've got to be patient with yourself and have such deep faith. And if you need to pray every single day, pray 3-5 times a day, journal it out, jot it out, as Gail said. Anything that you need to do that, is relatable to you, resonate with you, aligns with you, and feels good, then go for it. And when you are praying, just give it up to God. Just trust and have faith that He knows exactly what He's doing, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Not necessarily what you thought it would be, but it's going to go out. And yes, you're going to have heartbreak. Yes, you are going to have heartache, but it's, all our journey, all our destination is one. Okay, one destination. We're all the same. Our destination is the same thing, but our journeys are all different. So yeah.
I love that you I love how you said, we plan. In the Bible it says that man makes plans, but God directs the steps. And we make plans, and that is something that human beings are created with the ability to do, which is pretty awesome. We're able to do that. So we make plans, but the problem with plans comes when we don't have, in a way, we have to have blinders on, because we have to keep our eye on the path, right? On the plan. And yet we also have to have blinders, maybe, that have a little flexibility to them. We have to be aware of what's going on around us. If we're walking a path and we've got blinders on and we're not at least aware of what's going on around us, someone may come and attack us from the side or the back, right? I mean, we can picture that. But in life, it's the same. So we're focused on the direction. We make a decision. God allows us to make decisions and decide on paths. It's not necessarily what we choose to do, but are we using our gifts and talents to do them? And then we have to trust that God's going to intervene with the rest. And that's where those flexible blinders come in, if you will, where we have to be aware of other things that are going on. Like, I love the story that my aunt shared earlier about they're praying for a new building. They took over. They were volunteering in a Meals on Wheels kitchen. And it was about to go under, and my uncle said, "No, we just can't do this. There's just too many people in this city that need this ministry. We have to move forward." And I, to be honest, don't remember all the details, how that began to suddenly start growing, but they've grown so much. And they were in a very tiny space, and they've grown so much, they needed a bigger space. So for 2 years, they were just praying about where to go. So they had a plan. They were going to go to a bigger kitchen. They were going to take on more people, but they weren't sure how that was going to happen. And sometimes we don't have all the details, but that should not what's the word, discourage us from moving forward. It should sharpen up our discernment in being able to see what's going on the outside of our blinders while we're so focused on our path. We have to have some flexibility in our lives. I didn't expect Mike to die when he did. When he was in the hospital, we really, really thought he would be coming home. And the announcement that he wasn't going to make it came very sudden. That's a pretty significant change in my path that I had no control over. And that's going to happen. That's the kind of thing that can send people in a whirlwind. And, to either get discouraged or to give up, but really, those things will happen, and we have to know that, yes, we make plans, but there's going to be other elements that are going to enhance or change or twist or turn or delay those plans, and that's okay. That's okay. So I hope too that my book gives people permission to have that flexibility and to be okay if plans are delayed a bit at times, because there's going to be something you're going to learn. There's going to be something that's going to help you become the best at what it is you want to pursue. When you go through this other season, it's going to make you even better at what you're pursuing at that point.
Definitely agree. Definitely agree. And I love, Gail, how you've just mentioned the seasons as well. We get 4 seasons a year, and, it's all about, the leaves are changing, and then winter arrives, and then we've got spring and summer and everything. And we've just got to go with the flow as well. I always say to my clients that, with your planners, put things in pencil, stay focused. But, as well, Gail, is that, you've got to be flexible sometimes and rub things out. Things happen, life happens, and it's a bit like learning the lesson as well, but also being patient with yourself and knowing that you're learning something from this. And when people pass away, it is tragic and heartbreaking and everything, and you've just got to give yourself time as well. That obviously you didn't plan for that to happen, but it's having faith and really having hope as well. But also I understand with all of my the business side and my professional side of life, is that people, when they don't know the how, that's when they hold themselves back and fear gets in the way and they procrastinate and things like that. And I think your book really helps to open up to that, to, as you said, give them permission to really dive deep, really get that extra notebook and write, and just keep writing and writing and writing. There's no right or wrong, just keep writing, and really, really go to the core and really know what you're good at, what lights you up, what you're passionate about, not what someone else is telling you should do or whatever you've invested in it. What is amazing for you? Because I always say as well, I've said to my daughter as well, is that, you go to school, so you're born and then you go to school, okay? And then it's when you leave school till you pass away, and obviously no one knows when that is that is significant. So you need to decide what you're doing, and your path is going to change and mix and everything. You're going to meet people, and then people are going to leave, for a season, lesson or reason and everything else. But, the seasons come and go. And guess what, guys? You can't control it. You can only control your response and your reaction and what you do, your actions and things. And the season. So you just got to go with the flow of everything. That doesn't mean you can't get angry and sad and disappointed at things, but your life is here. You get one, and it's precious. And it really is about growth and strength and lighting people up and empowering people and things. And Gail's book, not only the stories in there, the questions in there, the exercises in there, the wonderful poem that's in there as well. It really is classic. It's timeless. It's something, as I said at the beginning, you can revisit over and over again. And, the second time you read the book, let alone do the questions, it's going to open you up more. You're going to notice something before that you didn't read. Why? Because you will have grown and experienced something within the few months or years that you read it previous. And it's going to make you a better person. You are just going to flourish even more with this book. I highly recommend you get it. It will be, I can't wait for Gail to send me a signed copy and everything. I've got it on Kindle. But I can't wait to have it actually in my hand from the wonderful, incredible lady herself. So it really is amazing. Really, really is.
I think too, even writing the book was part, putting the whole book together is kind of the manifestation of everything we're talking about here, because the book started with the poem, and the poem just came one day when I was feeling at peace, and I sat down. And to be perfectly honest with you now, I don't even remember what my intention was when I sat down that day with a pen and paper. But I just started to write. And a poem was just kind of coming into my head. And I thought, oh, this is, yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, well, yeah. And before you know it, I had pages of this poem. And I read it back, and I fell in love with it. I wept, and I just couldn't, well, I didn't even feel like I could take credit for writing it. I just felt like God inspired me, and I just had the pen in my hand. I apologize for my dog in the background. What can I say?
Sketchy's getting in on the live stream.
That's it. He doesn't even usually act like this this often, at night, but I can't tell him to be quiet because he's downstairs. But anyway, but one of the things that once I had this poem, I knew I needed to get it in the hands of people. I felt like the poem was something that would inspire and encourage people. But just giving them a poem wasn't enough. It just didn't seem like enough. And so I really spent, because I think I wrote that poem maybe back in March. It took time to really think, what was the next step? What needed to be added to it? What was it supposed to look like? And so the book was something that, it wasn't that I had this idea for a book and I sat down and I began to write each chapter of the book. The book is a little different than a lot of other books because it's not laid out that way. It's really, it is a little bit different than a lot of books that are out there that you might be used to. And you know what? That's okay. And I have, and that's another thing that I want to encourage people in, that everything doesn't have to look a specific way that our culture or society says it should look, that only one way would be acceptable. Not one way is always acceptable, because if you think about it, I mean, we've been talking off and on tonight about we're each made with a unique blend of characteristic traits and talents and gifts and abilities and passions. And, that blend in each of us is as unique as a snowflake and a fingerprint. It's amazing to me that God could make, we can't even say the number of snowflakes on the planet. And every one of them have been unique. And you know what? And they're all made up of the same thing. So we're all made in the image of God, but we all have a unique blend of the characteristics and talents and gifts and passions that God has given us. So if that's true, then if I'm going to start a business or I'm going to start a new career, and why do we have to believe that it has to be done this way or that way, or the way that Jane did it, or my neighbors do it, or, well, if I have a business now, that I need to have a Mercedes in my driveway because that represents I own a business. No, drive a Volkswagen or a Kia. What does it matter? And I think that I hope that the book gives people permission to understand who they are, and to understand that not everyone's journey has to look the same, even if you're pursuing something similar, because you're two different people pursuing it. So my book is unique, and even in that and of itself should be encouragement for other people to pursue what is unique for them. And I do believe that even being slightly different than a lot of other books that are out there, It's still very encouraging and inspiring. I also feel really excited that as I was thinking about the structure of the book, and when I thought maybe I was done, and then something came to me and I added more. And one of the things that I added at the end, which is where I just begin to give people a picture of who God sees us when we put our faith and trust in him. And there is something that God has done for us to be able to have this special relationship with him, that this special relationship we can have with him, it looks a certain way. It's that he sees us as beautiful, and maybe some people don't see themselves as beautiful. That we're wise, that we have wisdom, and maybe some people don't think they're very wise or that they have wisdom. And yet, if God sees us that way, I mean, come on, is there anything greater than God? And if God can see us that way, if God made us in a particular way, why can't we accept that we were made that way and use those gifts and talents, those abilities, and see ourselves in a different way? I think that most cultures, people are always tearing themselves down, maybe tearing themselves down because they're expecting other people are tearing themselves down, and they're going to do it first because then it won't hurt quite as bad. I know that's been a tendency I've had. And so I think that last section is really important, and I hope that it will also drive people to dig into the scriptures and to see what is God's heart and mind for the things that he's created, including you. And accepting that he does give us good gifts and he does give us abilities, and we have to accept that. Like, we have to graciously say, wow, thank you, and recognize that they're to be used, they're to be put out, they're to be poured out and used on the planet to add value to other people's lives. So by restricting our own opinion of ourselves, and I'm not saying we should be arrogant or egotistical, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about truly understanding how we're made and what we're meant to do, what we're made to do. We have to embrace that as a gift we've been given that is to be shared. And we have to love that, because the truth is, how can we not love something that God has given us? And when we do, it enables us to be able to pass it on to other people so that it does add value to their lives. And let's face it, if I don't love it, then why would you? So I love my book, y'all. And I love that God has given me this ability to sit down and just to write in ways that when I read it back, I'm like, wow, I love this. I really do. And I don't say that in an arrogant way, but I just know that as people read it, they'll feel the same way. I love this. I love getting a peek at this intimate part of your life that you've shared with me, because I can relate to that. I can relate to what you're saying. And you, my grandson, my 19-year-old grandson, a few months ago, said to me something very, very sweet. And he said, Grandma, you're such an inspiration to me. And I said, is that right? I said, in what way? And he said, you hit a mountain in your life, and you didn't try to get around it. You didn't try to get over it. You just found a way to plow right through that mountain. And, you know, I see that as his way of saying you faced where you were really at. And you let God use that to make you even better so that you could be even better for us. And that's my hope, that as people read the book, they walk away with that same experience. I muted myself. Sorry.
It's okay. That's absolutely beautiful what your grandson said, and you got tears in your eyes and everything because it actually means something. And the thing is that you went straight through that mountain. It's not the first time that you've been through that mountain. You've been through that mountain so many times, and people can relate in different ways to that.
Right.
But your pure strength. And can I just say to everyone as well, you know, Gail's book, please go and get it. Please click the links. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching, please click the links. Go and get the book. Read at least 20% and then leave a review for Gail, and then keep reading and everything and enjoy it as you go along. But the thing is, it all started with a poem, and the poem isn't at the front of the book. So my message to you is Gail has written a book around this beautiful poem. And then, as she also said, she added stuff at the end as well. It's just, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it because you have a beautiful message inside of you to get out there. And as Gail said, find out why you're here, okay? Why you're on the planet, why you're here, and then run with it, because you know, the amazing skills, talent, knowledge, and expertise that you've got isn't for you. Don't keep it to yourself. Give it to everyone. And it's not about ego, putting yourself on a pedestal or anything like that. Stay humble, stay grounded. Remember who you are and where you've come from, who you are and whose you are. But apart from that, you know, really go for it. But Gail's book is really going to open your mind. It's really going to help you develop your wisdom, your skills. You are definitely going to learn a lot of stuff from Gail. And it really is going to be a life-changing book for you. As I said before, you'll keep going back to it again and again and again. So yeah.
Well, I hope so. And you know, we keep emphasizing the need to buy the book, get the ebook, get the download version, because you can get that immediately, read it immediately. And honestly, reading the first 20% will take you minutes. I mean, really, this is a short read book. It's a quick read. That is what I will be writing. I've got books coming out next year. I am writing short read books. I have been reading about the different kinds of books that people like to read. And this felt like a lot of people, like myself, I will admit that a lot of times I don't end up finishing a book because I don't have time to read a book, and then another book comes along that's of interest. And so I get the book, and then I want to see what the book is about. And before you know it, I have all these books I never finished. Well, I want people to finish my books. And I've had people even that I've told about the book, and they've said, well, I'm not much of a reader. And I said, good, this is the book for you. So this is an easy read book. So the reason that we keep emphasizing get the download, read 20%, and write a review is this. My book needs to be seen by as many people as possible. It needs to get noticed. It needs to be found in search engines. And in order to do that, I need the help of those who hear about the book initially and write a review, because it will be the sale of the books and the reviews that will help to get the book to a place where it's more noticeable and found by people who really need it. And Rebecca, you know this, and maybe some of my Facebook followers know that every morning I write a little, well, they're not little, I write a post. They're not always that little, but it surprises me. People read them anyway. And people have told me they grab their coffee and they come and check out what I've written that morning. So I know they're reading them, which is great. So my books are short, but my Facebook posts are long. I don't know. That doesn't make sense, does it? But anyway, oh gosh, I went on a rabbit trail and forgot what I was talking about. Shoot. But just I went completely blank. But I will say that those who know anything about my background and whatnot, and probably if you've heard part of our recording tonight, you got a hint that I've lost 2 husbands. So I've been widowed twice, which, you know, has been huge adjustments in my life because of those, especially the first time. But as a little girl, I was told that I was stupid and good for nothing. And when you're told that all the time, you don't have any reason to not believe it's true. And so for a long time, I didn't even try to do anything good because I didn't think I was capable of doing anything good. And I've learned over the years as an adult, and I've been an adult for a long, long time. I'm an older woman. And so I've met many, 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 many people who have just been so torn down in their life that they cannot believe that they have something good, that they were actually put on this planet to do something good for other people. And I just want to say that everyone was put here to do something for someone, even if you're not an upfront person, even if you're a quieter person who does things in the background. We need you. I need people who do things in the background. And I want to encourage people, and I hope that my books, that in and of itself is an encouragement. I had a joke, you know, it's funny when you start reflecting back about things in your life, which is one of the things that I encourage people to do as they read my book, because you may remember things that were said when you were young. I actually had a running joke with my best friend in my senior year of high school. And she said, well, you know, Gail, you'll be signing your first book and giving it to me. We always had this joke that I was going to write a book. And that, you know, and it was a joke because English and grammar were my worst subject in school. And I hated reading. I will confess, I never read a book until I was in my 20s. I never read a book from beginning to end until I was in my 20s. And here I am writing books. I mean, this is my second book, and I've written a third book that'll be out in January. And so we really can't stay stuck in thinking we are who we thought we were at one time. We really have to be open to the fact that we were made for things that are great. And great may not necessarily be loud and famous, but great is adding value to the people around you, serving your community, serving your family, serving your loved ones. That's what we're here for. We are here to give and to pour out. And I have personally found the more I pour out, the more I receive, which gives me more to pour out. And so we just begin to find a completely different way of life and a different way of thinking when we open our mind to think back about what are the things that really got me jazzed and excited when I was younger. What are the things that really that I really loved doing? What do I remember doing frequently? And then looking at what does that mean? What are some common threads here? And starting to put some of those pieces together to give our mind a refreshed view of who we were made to be, and go from there. So we have Elizabeth from Canada. Ooh, we've got someone on from Canada. Awesome. Very awesome. Awesome. I thought we would have some other Canadian friends. I've got quite a few Canadian friends. I've actually lived in Canada for 2.5 years in Southern Ontario as a young adult. Another completely dramatic twist in my life. And looking back, when I look back at all the things that I've done in my lifetime, it's pretty crazy. But it's amazing to see how they all, every single one of them, every season in my life taught me something new. Every season in my life gave me a little more confidence to do the next thing. And I mean, mind you, it's taken 65 years for me to get here. And I'm hoping that the book will help some people be able to accomplish it at a much earlier age than me. But welcome, Elizabeth from Canada. And I see Lee Ellen is still on. That's great. So my next guest was coming on at 6 o'clock. It's you and me for a little while, Rebecca.
That's okay. Honestly, that's okay. It's honestly, guys, I just want to say again, if you click on the links and pop over, go and get the ebook version of Gail's new book. It's a short read. It's absolutely fantastic. It'll open your mind completely. It really is amazing. And it's something that you can, you can maybe sit down with your husband or your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, sister, whoever, daughter or anything, and you can actually sit down and read it together and really have a conversation and chat about it. I mentioned the book club thing earlier on. You could actually sit down and talk about it and things, and then go through the questions together and see what you think, and then swap and then read each other's answers as well. It really is amazing, guys. This book is fantastic. And as I said right at the beginning, I am so proud of Gail through everything. I mean, this year, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, she's moved house and there's so much been going on this year. But, she's absolutely a tremendous, beautiful, amazing soul. And you are going to absolutely love this book completely. So, yeah.
Moving this year took an enormous step of faith, because I knew deep down in my heart that I needed to sell my house. It was just too much property for me to manage alone after Mike passed. And all I really knew is that I needed to get some things repaired. I needed to get it painted, and, just little things still needed to be done. And I needed to sell the house. But what was going to happen after the house sold was another question. And you know what? Sometimes like that could cause fear. Like that could have been very, I was scared, but my fear could have frozen me in my tracks. And I could have said, I know I feel like I should sell, but I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm not going to sell. And I'm not saying it's always wise to do this, but this is where the relationship for me, this is where my relationship with God is so, so vital, because I have to have peace in my heart with God before I make a decision. But I knew somehow in my heart that I needed to sell this house. So the house went on the market and still didn't know where we were going to go. And my 87-year-old mom lives with me. I couldn't just sleep on the couch at my daughter's house, which I could have done if I was by myself. And the market here was insane this year. Houses were selling for 20, 30, 40, 50,000 even. I know someone who sold their home for $100,000 more than they asked for, and they sold it higher than it was worth the year before. And then people coming in with lots of money to put down, which made them more attractive to accept their offers. And so little people like me, it was very hard for us to buy houses, and I just didn't know what we were going to do. But within weeks, just a few weeks, this townhome just happened to open up. In fact, the for sale sign went in front of it that afternoon before. And I found it first thing in the morning on the internet and drove over to look at it. And they said it's for sale and it's ready to move into. And there was no bidding war. It was just there. And I walked in and I didn't even look around at the house initially. And I just said, well, what do I need to do to purchase this house? This is the one. And then he said, don't you want to go see the rest of the rooms? I'm like, oh, okay. But I knew in my heart. So I hope that my book also can be an encouragement to people to understand what it means to walk a life of faith. You know, my pastor continuously says faith is risky. And sometimes life is risky. And I think that God allows our lives to be risky at times with him because it helps us to trust him. Because I'll tell you what, this is the most perfect home for my mom and me. It just absolutely blows my mind that we're here and just how perfect it is. And I mean, I truly believe he just led me here. And that's how a faith walk looks. That's what it takes. You have to just be at peace with what you know you need to move forward with, and then trust the rest. Yeah. I see you shaking your head.
No, I'm nodding because I know Maria's just said something similar, but I did exactly the same with you. I moved last year. I had nowhere to go to. I was just like, no, we're going. And I moved from down south to up north because my mum wasn't well. And I didn't have a house to go to. I was like, no, I handed notice in, packed everything up, put it in storage, came up and down the road. And that is it. It's blind faith, knowing that you don't know all the steps. You don't know how it's going to work out, but you just know it will, because there's something bigger than yourself watching over you. And the house, perfect house for you, perfect house for Maria, house for me, came up. You know, I was up against so I'll just tell you a little quick thing, because it's kind of the same as that. Kind of, we moved up. I went and stayed with my mum and her husband for a little bit with my two kids, they're 23 and 18, and we had nowhere to go. And for 23 days, we officially had nowhere to live. And it's like, and then, you know, my mum's husband was like, well, what are you doing now? I was like, there's going to be a road, down this road, there's going to be a house that opens up just for me. It's going to be exactly what I want, you know, my specs, because I'd already sent out what I wanted. Guess what? It showed up. I signed, just looked round, signed, paid the fees, moved in, everything else, and it all works out. So I just want to give everyone, you know, that it is all about, as Gail said, it's all about the faith. It's all about not knowing every single step at every single moment. It's really pouring in and going for it. Same as Maria, pouring in and going for it, and knowing that everything's going to work out. But having that faith in yourself, in God, and knowing that the steps don't need to be seen, but you need to trust in God and the process, that everything will work out the way it's supposed to. It worked for Gail, worked for Maria, worked for me. And you know what? It's just wonderful how you can release all that stress and just know without a shadow of a doubt that it's going to work out. It may not be straight in front of you, but like Gail said, you know, the house with the sign went up the day before, the night before. She saw it the next day. She didn't even go round to look at all the rooms in the house before she's like, yes, I'm having this house. What do I do? And it's all worked out. And I know that her and the mom are very happy. It's a wonderful home. So again, Gail's book is really going to enlighten you. It's going to open up the possibilities for you. It's going to give you strength. And I'll tell you something else. It's going to give you power to be, even though you've got to adjust and changes and things happen, it's going to give you the power to give yourself permission to rise up, to know that we've walked this path and so can you. It's going to be awesome for you. I'm really excited for you to get the book.
I love that you said giving permission, because I have a funny story about someone giving me permission, and it literally changed my perspective on something in my life. It was shortly after my first husband passed away, and it was just a few weeks really. And I was in a support group. I had gone to Grief Share, and after the meeting, I was sitting at a table with 3 or 4 other ladies, and somebody said something really funny, and I howled. I mean, it was belly roar laughter. And all of a sudden, I remembered, I'm a widow. I shouldn't be laughing like this. What's wrong with me? I felt so like I was being disrespectful to my husband. I had all these concepts in my head. Well, I felt terrible. I mean, I just really, really felt bad. And I had driven there. I went to the group with another lady. And as we were driving home, I said to her, Jody, I feel terrible. I was laughing my head off tonight. And she said, so what did you do that was so bad? And I said, I laughed my head off today. And she said, I don't understand. And I said, well, I mean, I'm recently widowed. I shouldn't be laughing. And she said, oh, honey, please. She said, you will feel laughter so few and far between that when it comes, just praise God you have it. She gave me permission to change something that was buried in me that I didn't even know was there until the circumstance helped it to rise. I had the chance to look at it, and then I had the chance to change because someone gave me permission. So I hope I give other people permission for things that they also need to change. So I have my friend Diane on. I'm going to go ahead and bring her on now. Thank goodness. Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hey, nice to see you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
The sound not great, so I don't know what's going on. So
do you have your
but
Facebook
I can hear
on?
you.
Okay. You may have your
Yes.
Facebook on, and so that's probably why it's you're getting an echo.
Okay, let me see if I can figure that one out.
Well, you just need to be on the StreamYard, and you can just shut your Facebook off while you're on with us, and then you can get back on after. And I think she just froze. Oh no.
I will be there sometime.
Okay. All right, no problem. We're here.
Uh-oh. It's lost connection with the camera.
Okay. Well, can you just reconnect it? I think if you just click that little camera, it should go back on. And if we can't see you, that's okay. If you can hear me, we can still hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we can see you now. And if
There.
you can, there we go. We're good to go. Excellent. Okay.
There we go.
All right. So,
Nice to see
Diane,
you, Rebecca.
what was that?
I said it was nice to see Rebecca.
Yes. So Rebecca's muted, and I'm gonna mute myself when you talk, so that it just makes it easier for us to talk back and forth and be heard. But I would like for you just to tell those who are on with us how we know each other. We've known each other for quite a while. Why don't you tell a little bit about that?
We met. It was one of those God things, because after Christmas in 2014, I wanted to help widows. That was my thing, because I was a widow and I had gone through a lot of struggles with that. And I thought, if I could just help somebody get through that. So I started searching for some organization or something that would allow me to work in that area. And I ran across a website called Widow's Peak. And it was between Christmas and New Year's, and I called and I introduced myself on the voicemail and said, if I can be of any help, just call me back and we'll talk about it. And of course, it was after the first of the year when you called back, and we wound up talking for about 2 hours. And ever since then, we have been friends. I had a little bit of help in Widow's Peak, and really enjoyed that opportunity. And then you were doing fundraising art classes. And I started going to those and discovered that I had a love of art and a love of painting. So then that turned into another area that we enjoyed together. And so we've been friends since 2015. So that's a while.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up about the art, because that's one of the things that is so cool, and parallel about Diane and my life. Well, obviously we were both widows, and when I married Mike and I had established a nonprofit called the Widow's Peak, and we were helping widows and widowers in the Raleigh area. And actually we were working with widows in a couple of different countries in Africa as well. But for fundraising, I was doing art classes, and Diane came to one of those art classes and really liked it, and continued to come each month when I would have them. And before you know it, she's off painting on her own, and she moved away, I don't know, a few years ago, and couldn't come to my art classes anymore. And so she said, well, I'm just going to do it on my own. And now she's actually hobnobbing around with some pretty well-known artists in North Carolina. So she and I both have discovered gifts and talents that we had later on in our lives. And it's really fun to see someone else discovering that and using that gift and talent in ways that you never imagined, 15 years ago, even, that you would be doing what you're doing today. It's really cool. And I love that part of your story. But I also appreciate that you were willing to read the book and give a review and critique me and all of that good stuff. So why don't you just tell us kind of overview what you thought of the book, and then we'll get into some specific things.
Okay, overall, the book is one that just reading through, I was like, oh, that's me. That's me. And so I was reading it before I knew it as if I was reading strictly for myself instead of as a, just to see what the book was about. It became very personal at that point. And I just became fascinated that the sharing of your experiences, the sharing of your frustrations, the sharing of the scriptures that address those things, and the sharing of the questions that meant something to you and helped you explore the pathway through those frustrations. And it was like, wow, this is almost like a workbook to help anybody work through those with their own experiences without, it's just so generalized and yet so personal at the same time. So I was really impressed with the book.
Sorry, I had my cursor way over here where the comments were and I couldn't find the mute button.
That's okay.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate that. I love what you said about being general and yet also being personal. I do think that I do think those two elements are there as well. Yeah. So what specifically, like how, is there a part in the book that really specifically speaks to you, especially at this stage in your life? How has the book been a help to you, or has the book been a help to you?
Actually, it has, because it was a realization that just because I feel like I'm going on the right path, there are still things that seem like should be more, a little more direct purpose or a little bit more meaning. And so this gives me an idea of how to sit down and think it through and just random thoughts that go through my mind. You have to have a more structured way to think through things. And when you're in the middle of it, it's very difficult sometimes to create that organized thought process. So this helps to control that path so that you can think through it in a logical conclusion. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you at the very end, what most impressed me about the book is that it is something that I could read frequently. Every time things kind of change in my life, it's a new direction. And so here's another time you could pick it up and say, okay, now where do I need to go from here to kind of get back on a journey that makes sense? So to me, it is a repeat read.
I love that. I was thinking though, as you were speaking, I really don't want people to think that I've written something that I've got answers for them, that they can read my book and know what to do and charge. I really want,
No,
really have,
it's not that kind of book. It's just,
good.
okay. It's a book that gives you the questions that get you started on your own path, because it's not the same for anybody, but it gives you a foundation to start with so that you know kind of what you need to ask yourself and where you need to delve deeper in your own self to get an answer. It's different for everybody, but it gives you the structure that knows, okay, I need to think about what I was doing as a teenager that I loved and what I had to do that I really didn't like. And so if you didn't like it then, you probably don't like it now. And so you put that aside and go with things that encouraged you and that you loved when you were younger, and bring that forward.
So, can you tell us what it's like, exploring new territory in your life? As an older person, you're not married anymore. What has that experience been like for you? Because I know there will be people reading the book that because I do encourage we explore. I encourage exploration, and but I'd love to hear how the book might encourage you in that area and what that would look like for someone who is no longer married and older in life.
To me, the older you are in life, the more opportunity you have that you can explore all kinds of things. Go to lunch with a friend that you don't know as well, and talk about their interest, and kind of explore books and explore art like I did with you. Join a group that is a book club or an art club, or that likes to take walks in the park and see the nature. Look for the things that would be fun for at least time, and see if it's something that you would like to continue. Because the more you find that you can enjoy life, the more satisfying your life is, and calms your spirit to where you have time to think about those things as an older person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Very good.
Because when you're in the middle of chaos and frustration, your train of thought does not stay on the same track. You're jumping off this track onto that track, because you're not calm enough to maintain your focus. So you need to find things that calm your spirit. Taking walks in the park, having lunch with a friend, just doing something that is calming so that you can think those things through.
We really do need some white space. We have to create that in our society, don't we? Intentionally create that. Rebecca can tell you, when I first spoke with her and met her in February, it really had only been 5 or 6 weeks since Mike had passed. And I was telling her that I had this idea, that idea, this idea, that idea, this idea, that, and she literally said to me, "You're the only, I've never met anybody that's had more on their plate." And looking back, I think it was really because I was in this place where I was looking at, there's all these things that could be my path and I don't know which one to pursue. So I'm like dabbling in all of them. And sometimes we need another person to kind of help us sort through that. And Rebecca's always saying, seek the divine downloads. It really is necessary to be quiet, to hear how the Holy Spirit speaks to us, and to hear direction and whatnot. And sometimes we need other people to help us get there, to be the hands and feet of God when everything is cloudy to us, and just, just up in upheaval. So I really appreciate that. So tell me who you would recommend the book. Who would you recommend should read this book?
I would really recommend it for anybody that has loss in their life and and is frustrated and doesn't know what to do next. I would recommend it to anyone that feels pressured by outside people telling them, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do the other. And you're going, I can't do all that. Someone who is in that state of mind really needs to sit down quietly and read that and themselves and put themselves in those thoughts. Um, Someone who's just going through a lot of changes in life, particularly if they are, for instance, someone in the military whose husband is in the military and they're having to move to a strange place that they've never been before. Um, and they've got their children to figure out this and all of those changes that are coming about. They need to sit down and kind of rethink their own lives as well. And I would recommend it for somebody like that that's just going a lot of changes, not necessarily loss of a spouse, but loss of normal, what they consider normal life. And it can be a real for them to sit down and kind of, okay, what's my next steps to create a normal life again?
That's really good. So do you mind if I ask you a personal question with regards to the book? You can't say no because we're live.
You can.
I know. I'm kidding.
You didn't tell me you were going to ask me a personal question.
Well, it's like it's not that personal, but it just popped in my head as we were talking, because when I selected, or I thought about the different people that I wanted to read the book ahead of time and be part of this tonight, I thought about the different people that I thought this book could be significant to them at this time in their life anyway. And I know that you and I have had a few conversations over the last few months about you sensing that, that there's something new around the corner for you. And so I'm curious to know, what's your plan? Now you've read the book. What is your plan in allowing the book to be useful for you even after our book launch tonight? That's how personal I'm getting. Is that too personal?
I couldn't understand all of that. If you can repeat what you're wanting from me.
Okay. So I guess basically, will you, is the book helpful for you as you're seeking whatever this, new chapter evolving in your life right now? How is the book helpful for you in that? And will you continue to use the book as a way of helping you to discern that?
It is something that I already decided I'm going to be, because like we've talked about, there's something else around the corner, and I keep thinking it's going to come up, and it's become up, so maybe something that I need to explore. So I'm going to go back and think about, there's several of the questions that I want to go back and think about, along with some scriptures, some of it that you provided and some that I've been reading, and consider those along with the questions that you brought up, because they were very thought-provoking questions to help me maybe discover what the next step is.
Great. Great. Do you think that this is something that could be used with a group of? I know that you live in a place where there's a lot of widows, a lot of single women. Is this something that could be valuable to you to share with them, like in a group setting? And that's something that Rebecca has mentioned a few times. Could you see that as something that could be useful where you are living right now?
That it's something that crossed my mind, that maybe a group of ladies, we could sit down as a small group and discuss those things and give each other the encouragement of how to go about thinking through those situations that we found ourselves in. I think it's an excellent book for that. I see it being very helpful in small groups.
That's exciting to me. And it's exciting to me to even think that, wow, there may be older men and women out there that feel like maybe their life's kind of over at this point and they don't know, like maybe they feel worthless now. And um, I know that that's true because I know of people in ministries where they are serving older people that feel that way, and I think the older we get, people can fall into that trap and forget that there is still more for them to do, and it just takes some tools to help discover what that is now. Like my mother is 87, her hands shake and she can't get out and do some of the things that she used to do, but the one thing that she's always loved is writing letters. And it's been fun watching this. She's actually kind of growing this little ministry where she's sending note cards out, just short little messages to people who are alone, and the joy that it brings them to that someone even just thought of them. So even at 87 years old, we can still explore, well, I'm still on this planet. Why and what can I still do? And so I'm encouraged by that, Diane, that the book could be used for people who are in that situation. So we've talked about 19-year-olds and 87-year-olds. I think the book is for everyone in between too.
You know, we live in a society, and have for many years, that kind of writes you off when you become older and says, "Oh, you poor thing, you need to retire from doing this. You don't need to serve on that committee," or, maybe that's a little too much for you now. Instead of saying, "Okay, how about we do, how interested as much older people continue in life, we encourage them to stop living, especially if they become widowed." And this book gives an opportunity for anybody, whether, like you say, they are widowed or whether they're just getting older, an opportunity for them to rethink that and not listen to those words that people are saying, you that basically say you're not worthy of doing anything now. And I don't like those words. I fight against those. And I encourage them, the ones that I know that seem to be starting in that rut. What you doing today? What have you read? Or did you go off and see the colors on the trees last weekend? That kind of thing, to kind of encourage them to do something.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by that. Yeah. And I don't think that it's always society.
I'm going to go down fighting, I can tell you.
You're going to what? Go down what?
I'm going to go down fighting.
All right.
To do things.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's not even so much that society is telling us that we should slow down or that but I think sometimes I don't know, have our own concept in our own head. Sometimes it's appears. So hopefully this can encourage people to recognize that maybe what we do in life when we're older is different, but it doesn't mean that it's over and that we're just watching the clock.
Right.
Is it going to be today, Lord? I'm ready. No, if you're still here, you still have value to add somewhere. And how do you seek what that is? And it will bring you joy in the process. So, well, you exemplify that in your life, Diane, and I love that about you. And I really appreciate you coming in. Is there anything you'd like to add before we say goodnight to you?
Pardon?
Is there anything you'd like to add about the book? Is there, just any little thing I cut you off, you didn't have a chance to say, any little extra thing that you might want to say about the book?
I did have something in
I knew you would. I know you so well.
I have to look at my notes because I was jotting some things down. So I think the big thing that the book kind of reinforces to me, and I wanted to make sure people heard that, is it does not lead you down someone else's path. The questions and the comments and discussion leads you down your own unique path. And so it's not like Sue down the road or Joe up the hill. It's your own thoughts, your own past, your own experiences that help to create your new path, and it is uniquely yours. And I think that really is brought out in the book, because you say these are the things you can think about and look at your own experiences to come out with those answers. And I loved it, by the way.
You're awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. I really
think you
appreciate
are, but anyway, that's
well, I appreciate you taking the time to read the book ahead of time. And even, I didn't give you very much time. I'm like, you got to read it quick. And you were just like, okay, we'll do it. It's a quick read though, isn't it?
I was honored to read that. I appreciate the opportunity for that.
Great. Well, I hope you have a good night, Diane, and I will talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Amazing. I love her. She's brilliant. And I love it as well that she added the extra bit at the end that the book is open. It's for you to find your path, and it's not, as you said before, Gail, it's not you telling people it must be this way. Diane has actually read the book the same as myself, and it's kind of, it allows your mind to just explore and everything, and it's for you to write your own journey and path and everything. It's amazing. But I love her. I love Diane.
I think it's important, and I'm glad that you that we're saying, but I want to emphasize that the importance of really understanding what's inside of us is because unless we do, we don't have the ability to discern what is of God. We're made in the image of God. That's what the Bible tells us. That's what our Maker tells us. He made us in his image. So there are going to be things about us that are made in his image. And there are going to be things about us that aren't. Because we've lived in this very broken world, and we're going to have things in us that really aren't God. Now, some of those things we say are sin, and some of them are just bad habits because we didn't think correctly when something happened to us as a young child. And those beliefs that we established long ago don't serve us well anymore as adults. But we don't even realize that. Just like the laughter, when I laughed after my husband died, where did that come from? It came from something that maybe I heard when I was young, when there was a funeral or something, who knows? But it's a belief system that I held on to, didn't even realize. And then I had the opportunity to let it go. And it changed my life doing that. I mean, it literally changed my mind. So I want to emphasize, especially in the Christian community, that I'm not talking about we're gonna figure out what I want. It's what I want, and I'm gonna pursue it. That is not what this is about. This is truly about taking the time and using some tools in a relationship with God, seeking to understand what are the unique qualities of me that are of God, that God wants me to use, and what aren't. And the things that aren't, have I been planting seeds to continuously grow those without realizing it? And how do I stop doing that? Where do I find new seeds to sow? And how do I sow them? How do I wait for the harvest to come? You know, it's a little giveaway. I talk about a particular plant in the book that God created that takes 7 years to bloom. It was 2 years ago that I had a dream to create a life around writing and art. But it took 2 years to get to this place where I'm at now. And so to learn how to wait is something that people don't know how to do. But I can't tell you how to wait. I can only encourage you in the value of waiting, so that in your own waiting, you understand the value of that, and you will find your own way of working that out in your life with your unique blend of who you are, if that makes sense. So I thought that might be an important factor for people to hear. I'm certainly not encouraging people to, I'm going to start a multi-million-dollar business, and no matter what comes my way, I'm just going to plow people out of the way. And I'm not talking about that kind of vision or power or any of that. We're talking about adding value to the world, and how do we understand what's in me that God has given me that adds value to the world, and then how do I express that in my world, in the world that God has given me. So that, I think those are two different things, and I thought that would be something important to emphasize. So my friend Jen will be hopping on in just a little while. She should be here pretty soon. So, and I have to, can you tell us if you see anything on the, on Amazon?
I'm keeping an eye on it. Let me just flip over while we're live. On Amazon.com, we still don't have any reviews. They are going slow. They have been written, they're just not uploaded. Amazon is not real time like social media. So we're still waiting for Amazon to put those reviews on. So once the American review starts showing, but how the reviews, how everything goes with the ranking is that it's the reviews, it's the reading, it's when people get ebooks and then they scroll past. The Amazon algorithm feels and knows that it's important. People are reading this book. People need to read this book, and it must be important. So that's how you go up the ranks and things. So yeah, still keeping an eye on that. But once it starts going, it's kind of like the cards. You know, when you stack all the cards up and then they all just start going down. So it's exciting, really exciting. Can't hear you, Gail. Are you muted?
So I'm resending links. So you
Yeah.
got to give me a minute here to
Yeah.
communicate to my two last guests that we
Yeah.
have. Let's see.
Fantastic. And if you are watching on Facebook, guys, if you go into the comments, I have put the UK link in there. I've put the USA link in there. So go and grab your Kindle version. If you haven't got an actual Kindle, like me, I don't. I've got my phone. So I've got the actual app on my phone. When I purchase it, I tell Amazon where to actually send it. So I send it to my Kindle app and then it's open. It takes a couple of seconds just to upload on the app and then it's all there for me to read. So do not worry, you don't have to go out and buy an actual Kindle to read it. You just need the app on your phone or device. If you're on an iPad, you just put the Kindle app on your phone and on your device and you're all good to go. So I'm really excited. How many of you, where is everyone watching from? Comment below and let us know where you're watching from. And Gail can see where everyone is. We've got people from India, America, UK, Wales, England,
Canada.
UK. Yeah, Canada, USA. Yes. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. It's been fun watching the numbers. I can see the different numbers of people that are on live and it changes. So it's been fun watching people come on for a time and step out and step on and step in. It's really good.
Yeah.
All right. So I have one person who is getting ready to come on.
Excellent.
All right. So here she is. All right. This is my friend Jen. Okay. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Hi, guys.
So, Jen, I'm so glad that you could hop on tonight. And I know you probably just got back from the airport, right? Your mom's been visiting you.
Yep.
So this was a bit of a challenge asking you to be part of this because I know you had your mom here the entire time that I asked you to read and write a review and hop on and there was airport and trips and all things. So I really appreciate all that you carved out here and there to be able to do this with me. I really appreciate it. So when I ask you a question, I'm going to mute because it speeds up the response time on, the internet. So I'm going to just mute you. I'll mute myself so you can talk. But would you just tell everyone how we know each other and how long we have known each other? So can you fill everybody in on that?
Sure.
So we have such a fun story.
Okay, so it goes back a few years now. Let's see. We started off in a company called Norwex, and it's just cleaning without chemicals, basically. And I had a party, and I met Gail through there, and she actually signed up to do it with me. And from then, let's see, where did we go from there? So I don't know. It was an immediate connection though. So as soon as we met each other at that Norwex party, it was like an immediate connection. And we went from Norwex to kind of Optavia and and basically here we are. We're like sisters now. We talk a lot. We talk almost every day, and it's just so much more than Norwex and Optavia. I mean, those are the two things that might have brought us together initially, but there's so much more to our relationship than those two things.
Well, you didn't tell the fun part that after we shortly after we met each other to begin with, that we discovered we lived two streets away. I mean, you practically were in my backyard, and we had never known each other before. So that was, I always thought that was fun.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So knowing that, you and I have been, we've been friends and we've had a lot of interaction through other businesses. And now I announced to you, I'm going to change direction. What was your reaction to that? I'm going to start writing books and painting.
No, I absolutely love it. That's what I love about you the most is just that. And I love supporting you in it. And it's just been fun watching all the different like avenues that you've thought of, and might have gone down that road a little bit, but not gone all the way, only because something else has come along the way to take you right or left, kind of going in the same direction, but not straight ahead, you know, kind of veering off left or right. But it's amazing. And this is just a start. I cannot wait to see where this takes you, because I think you're going to be really surprised. Everybody's going to be really surprised at where this takes you. At least I'm not sure why I feel that in my heart, but I just do. So,
well, you've been a huge encouragement to me. And like, you know, she'll post something on Facebook and I'll post something on Facebook, and neither one of us have seen each other that morning. And later we'll look and we're like, we posted about the same thing. We think the same. I mean, we have a crazy relationship. But Jen, you read the book, and tell everyone just overall, to begin with, what your thoughts were about the book when you read the book.
I just was amazed. The poet, like how it kind of started off as like a poem and just went into so much more than that, you know. And I don't even really want to say on here exactly how I feel, because I want people to read it for themselves. It's almost like I want to leave them as a cliffhanger, because I want people to be like, like, you know, how does something start off at this and then go into so much more, you know? I don't know. I don't know how much you want me to say, but I just want to kind of, my personal opinion is I want people to read it. And if you are, if I tell you all about it, what's going to make you want to pick it up? If that make any sense? Like, and read it yourselves if I've already told you all.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, we don't want you to tell people we don't want you to tell them the story. We want them to read the book, obviously. But who would you recommend should read the book, and why?
Honestly, I think people of all ages could read this book. I mean, I honestly think I have 2 kids. I have a 9-year-old son and a daughter who just turned 20. And I honestly think each one of them would get something out of it, even if they're 2 different things. Like, even they might take away 2 completely different things. I mean, and that could be based on gender. That could, because I have a boy and a girl. That could be based on age, because they're 9 and 20. But I honestly think that either one of my children could pick up this story and get something out of it.
I love that. You nailed it, girl. Not only that, but let me ask you this. If you recommended the book to your 20 and 9-year-old child, would you recommend it again in 5 years or 10 years from now? And
yes,
why?
Absolutely. Because just for that same exact reason that I just said, that Allie might at 20 might get this out of it, but then my son at 9, 5 years later, you know, being 14, would get, if not even more from it. You know, I think Allie will get a lot more out of it being 20. But I also think Casey will get something out of it. And like you said, even 5 years from now, he'll get what he got out of it at 9, but he'll even get more out of it at 14, because he'll have more of an understanding. So I definitely think no matter what your age, you're going to walk away, you're going to get something out of it. Yes, by far.
So what was your favorite part about the book, without giving away too much of the story? But I want people to have an idea of what to expect when they read the book as well. And you're not going to give, you know, I think one of the things that I've done in the book is give deep down details, and we're not even going to have time for all that. So even if you tell about a part of the book, there's still going to be so much depth that's talked about in the book that they're going to need to pick it up and read it to know that. So I don't think you can possibly give too much of the book away by saying that. So
Okay. My favorite part.
oh, she disappeared. I don't know if she realizes that she must, I don't know what happened there, but maybe she lost internet connection. All right, let's see if she comes back. You know, one of the things that Rebecca, you've really made me feel comfortable in the fact that, you know what, we're just human beings and stuff happens. And hey, we're sitting here for a long time. It's not going to be smooth, right?
So tech happens. Everyone watching, tech happens. You know, turn it off for 30 seconds, turn it back on again. Things like that. You know what I mean? So things happen. Don't worry.
And I think that, you know, even stuff like this just encourages people that it's okay to be human. You know what? It is absolutely okay to be human. And I needed someone to give me permission for that years ago, that it's okay. Yeah.
Just go for it. You may not know the entire platform. Things go wrong. Just breathe. Trust the process. Again, going back to what the book's telling everyone. But you know, it's absolutely wonderful that it's for any age. And you know, as you know, as we're talking about ages and the differences and things, is that it's a book that no matter what age, it can actually grow with you along the way, because you're going to learn more. So, you know, as you know, a 14-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, 35, 40 and onwards, you know, I'm 42, so I can, you know, do everything now with the book, and then in 5 years' time, I'm in a whole different place within my life and journey, and I can do it again. I can give it to my daughter, and you know what I mean, and then she can expand and grow and get more and more out of it, and it kind of becomes part of an amazing. How amazing would this be if people had the book and had the accompanying, you know, get a notepad to accompany it, and then write in the same notebook year on year on year, or 5-year increments, or whatever they choose. So, and then kind of sit back and just read at the expansion and the growth and the shifting and the developing. How cool would that be? You know what I mean? It's mind-blowing. It would be awesome. And you did that, Gail. You did that with your wisdom, your words, and everything. It would be awesome for people to do that.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I mentioned earlier that I went to Grief Share. I went to several sessions of Grief Share because in 2013, I not only lost my husband, but we lost twin grandbabies that year. A few months before Vinny died. My stepson died 2 months after my husband died. I lost a friend who had a heart attack the same weekend that Michael, my stepson, died. I had 4 other friends that died that year, and an aunt and an uncle. So there were 11 friends and family that passed away in 1 year in my life. And so I did several repeated back-to-back sessions of Grief Share. And in Grief Share, that ministry, you start with a video, and you have people who are talking about their experiences. And these are people who have, you know, gone in and come through the grief experience, and from different angles and different experiences. And so you're hearing that, and you're hearing scripture, and you're learning about what the Bible says about death and grief, and God's heart and his comfort and things. And it was very enlightening. So while we would watch the video, I would be taking notes. I'd be writing, like, I'd hear things about, oh, that's good. And I'd write that down. And I'd hear a verse about, oh, that's good. And I'd write that down. And then the next time I went, I heard even more. So I got into this habit of going with a different colored pen. So the first time I used my usual blue pen, and then the next time I started using a red pen, and then I got a purple pen and a green pen, and I used different colored pens because it was really neat to see what I wrote at each cycle. Because I was writing, and I had no room left in my book by the time I did 4 sessions of Grief Share. But it is really helpful not just to write down things, but to go back and look at what you wrote. And actually, that happened with the book because it was a poem. And then it grew from there because I went back and read the poem. So Jen is back on. Let's get her while she still has internet working.
Yay!
Hey,
All
you
right.
guys.
Yay!
Everybody here at the lake complains about the internet service, and I haven't had any trouble until like right now, of course, when it's most important to be on here.
So I completely forgot what the question was that you bleeped out on me. I guess you just needed more time to think about it, right?
Yes, that's it. Hey, actually, I wasn't thinking about that at all.
I know.
I was like, how fast can I get back on here?
I think I asked you who. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, you had kind of asked me like what I liked about the book the most, or whatever, that kind of thing, and I think I'm going to answer it by saying the feeling that I got walking away from it. It's just encouraging. It made me think a lot about, what can I do more in certain areas of my life with it? I mean, I thought of things that I just never really, it's not that I pressed them down, but just certain things I guess I just never really thought about. So it helped me to realize that there are things in life that I probably need to concentrate more on. There are things in life that I need to concentrate less on. And both of those were encouraging. So it's not like one or the other was negative or positive. It's the fact that I walked away feeling like I need to not necessarily prioritize, because I think I think I need to focus a little bit better on things. And it was encouraging for me to look at something and know that I can, I'm not really even sure what I'm trying to say, but it was uplifting for me because, I don't even know. I'm just nervous. I told Gail, I said, why am I nervous?
So I think what I'm hearing you say is that, that sometimes, you just get in this routine day after day,
Yes.
you're doing the same thing all the time, that sometimes you can lose dreams or thoughts or passions.
Right. And it's like, there's more to it. You know what I mean? Like I can, right. I mean, and that's what I see you doing. You know what I mean? The fact that you've kind of taken this art and writing thing and you're running with it. You know what I mean? And it's encouraging to know that if there's something that I want to do, why not go after it? You know what I mean? Or why not so that's the most thing that I got out of it, is the fact that, like, shoot for your dreams and don't listen to anybody else. That's the biggest thing for me, was like, wow, really? Like, I don't know. That's what I got out of it, is why not? I got that feeling of, well, why not? Like, yeah.
Well, I keep muting myself. Sorry. I know, back and forth, back and forth. I really love that, Jen. And I hope that people can read the book with that in mind, but also to know, just like I was saying earlier before you came on, that what I'm doing now, I actually wanted to do 2 or 2.5 years ago, but the timing wasn't quite right. And there were certain things that still had to come about, had to evolve a certain way for this to be possible. But I had to have the passion to do it first.
Mhm.
And I had to be aware that I had the passion. And so I hope that as people read the book, they walk away with the fact that, like you said, who cares what anybody thinks? The truth is, when all is said and done and we're done with this planet, there's only one we have to answer to. For me, I want to hear God say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I want to hear it today. I don't even want to wait till I'm dead. I want to know that I'm doing what I was put on this planet to do today.
Mhm.
I want to know that I'm doing the best with the ability that I have to do that today. That's what I hope I'm encouraging people to do in the book. Not to say, I could care less what you think, honey. I'm doing this. I'm not talking about destroying marriages so that I can go run off and do my little thing.
Right.
We've made certain decisions in our lives, and I think we can still pursue those things, but we do it in a way that how does where my life is now, how does that all fit? Like, how do the pieces all fit so that we flow into that and it all fits together?
Right. And it is all about timing, and just sometimes being at the right spot at the right time. And I know this doesn't have anything to do about your book, but look at your car. Like that was an incredible story, So I know a lot of probably the backdrop of everything, behind the book that the book doesn't even say. But I don't know. It was just really encouraging to know that, shoot for it, shoot for the stars, go for it. Even if it ends up taking you in a different direction, you think you're on, road A, but it takes you to B and C. It doesn't mean that you're going backwards. You're still going forward. You're just kind of going in a different direction with it. And that's, encouraging to know that even if you go off what you thought was the right path,
Right.
that you can still forge forward and still obtain a goal and a task and a dream. And, you're just getting it in a different way, but basically keep going.
Right. Exactly. That's awesome. So would you recommend the book to someone else?
I would recommend it to anybody. Yes, I would. Yep. I'm going to be telling everybody about it. So
Good. Okay. I love that. Well, tell them
the ones that I haven't already told. Yeah.
Tell them to get on, buy, read, review. And again, the reason for that is just to have greater exposure so that more people who need to have this book in their hands will find it. Mm-hmm. So we want to raise up the popularity of the book so that this book is obtainable for people that are, and I feel like in this time that we've had a global, over history, countries have had seasons of change and transformation, wars, various things have brought about change in countries, but COVID-19 has brought a worldwide change in everyone's culture. I don't think anyone's been exempt from what this has done to the world. And I think that in this time that people are really seeking hope. I think people feel hopeless. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like when change, this is what I've experienced in my life, and I hope that the book communicates this. when change happens that we didn't ask for, then we have to start saying, what's next? What does this mean? How do I use this as a springboard into whatever's next, and not be hopeless? So I hope that the book can bring that kind of hope to people's lives in a time in our history when people are really seeking hope. And I don't see any reason that we have to be hopeless. I don't think that the world is hopeless. I think the world has changed, and that's all. And we work with that where it is. We just work with where we're at. But it's not hopeless. It's not. There's still lots and lots of things for us to be doing. And I want people to be eager about discovering what their part to play is in that. So that's awesome. Do you see yourself going back to this book yourself in the days ahead, months ahead, weeks ahead? Did you get yourself a notebook? I know you had company, so you may not have had time to really work through the questions and whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to, though.
Awesome. I love that. Good. Well, anything else you'd like to add about the book while we've got you on and your internet is still working? And
just go out there, buy it, and read it. You're going to love it.
all right. Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking the time out while you had company. I know you were so looking forward to the time with your mom and doing special things, and you still found time to read the book. It's an easy read, right?
Yeah. And that's what's nice about it too, that it's not so long that you have to put it down and go back to it later. I mean, you literally can flip through it in the night if you really wanted to, you know? So, I mean, that's what's nice about it. You get a lot for a little, if that makes any sense. You get a lot out of it, but it's, you know, it's small enough where you can, you know, take a couple of days, read it here or there if you want. But man, if you really want to get through it, you can do it quickly. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Well, Jen, thank you so much. I love you, girl. And I'll talk with you again, probably tomorrow.
Nice to meet you, Rebecca.
Oh, wait, before you go, Rebecca.
Yes.
I met you because she introduced me to Ray.
Yay!
Yeah.
So you should know that connection.
Yeah. And I knew Ray because my sister, who lives in Arizona, Emily, was connected through Ray.
Ah, yes, I know. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you know Emily or not, but
no, I've heard of Emily, but yeah, I know who, because Ray's my client. So yeah.
You see what a small world it is?
It is. It's everyone's connected, see?
I love it. Yes. We are connected. Yes. It's just wonderful. I love it. I just love it. So. All right. Well, Jen, have a good night, and I'll talk to you again soon, girl.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Amazing. You've got amazing community and friends and family and everything. This is awesome. I'm so proud of you, Gail, and so many people are cheering you on, and you know, it's incredible. It's incredible. This book needs to be in every single house on the planet.
That would be a great joy. It would be a great joy, not because I want to be famous or that I want to be rich. I would like to make money, and I would like to, you know, support my family. But what I really want to do is know that, you know, after living 65 years on this planet, and I've raised children, and I can look back and I can think of things I wished I had done differently. You know, I had various jobs, various careers. We heard from Jen. I've dabbled in MLS companies, and you know, tried doing things like that. And in future books, you'll hear about other things I've done. But all that to say that sometimes, you know, you look back and you wish you did things different. And I feel like even though it's not like my life ended, but my life path ended several times.
Mm.
And in those times, God gave me, people say, well, I was given a second chance, and I've been given lots of second chances, not because I kept failing,
Yeah.
but because the life path that I was on at various times
Yeah.
was abruptly interrupted.
Yeah.
And so as I've learned things through those, and I watch other people struggle with the same things, and I just feel so blessed that I've had really excellent biblical teaching in my life, where I've really learned what it means to grow a personal, unique relationship with God, and to understand that he has made a way for us to be forgiven and to have our dirty slates from the past wiped away. I carried heavy chains of guilt and shame in my life, and they've been removed. Why is that? Why were they removed? So that I can enjoy my life more? I will enjoy my life more if I do what I was meant to do by being given that freedom, which is to share what I have with other people who I see are bound in chains. And I want to set them free. I want to help them understand that they can be, and that they can live lives that thrive. They're not absent of tragedy. They're not absent of struggle. I was going to say earlier on tonight, we were talking about something and I lost my train of thought, and then I remembered and I wrote it down. At one point with my first husband, we had always talked about having a little brick and mortar store, and we would do craft projects in the community. And I mean, we really saw this as just being something so cool. We were going to do it together, our family. It was going to be a family thing. And I stepped down from my job. We took a second mortgage on our home, and we invested in this little business that we had dreamt about for a long time. But right after we signed the lease, like literally right after we signed the lease to be in this building, my husband lost his job. And the nature of what happened on the job, he couldn't collect unemployment. He had no income. And at that time, jobs were scarce and he couldn't find a job. So he was helping me with the business, which was great because now he had time, but we didn't have the income to keep putting back in to generate the business and still have money to live on. And long story short, the business folded. And when it did, we also lost our home. And for about 6 to 8 weeks, I mean, eventually he did start to collect unemployment, but that ran out because he didn't find a job. And for about 6 to 8 weeks, we had no income whatsoever from anywhere. We were losing our home. And I remember just thinking, I don't understand, God, why this is happening, because we were going to do this. This was going to be for you. We were going to bring the Lord in our work, and we were going to be a light in the community. So why did you let this happen? And I really had to struggle with that. But in the process of all of that, we began to realize, my husband and me, that God never promised he'd pay my mortgage. That wasn't the promise. The promise was that he would provide everything we needed. And so we were going to trust him that whatever we were provided was what we needed. And we assessed that at the time, what we really needed most was electricity, because without it, we couldn't run our well and have water. We needed enough money to buy food and enough money to put gas in the car so we could continue looking for jobs. And every single week from various places, we would have just a little bit of money that got us those things and kept those things going, those 3 basic things. And then at some point, when we were really content and we realized we had learned this amazing lesson that sometimes you can pursue what you want, but life doesn't go your way because God is trying to show you something different that you will use in your pursuit. You can keep pursuing, but you'll use what you learn in that season to make it even better when you get to that season you were hoping for. And for us, it was realizing that God does, in fact, do what he promises he'll do. He promises he will give us what we need, and he'll never fail us in that. And he never did. And yes, we did lose our house, but we were never without a roof over our heads. We always had a place to stay. Even at one point, I remember staying at a few other people's homes, and we house sat while people were on vacation. So that was still provision. And I just think that's it's important for people to understand that as we're talking about a book that helps people think about what they're designed for and to face their fear, to pluck the wheat, if you will, or the weeds, if you will, that have gotten in the way, and we pursue the life we've sensed is ours, and we go for it. I'm not talking about somehow getting our brains fixed in such a way that we can make it perfect. It's not going to be perfect, and we won't learn anything if we had that anyway. So it's important to understand that we're still talking about real life stuff here. People will still pass away in our lives. We'll still lose jobs. But can we take those situations and turn them into prayer, into reflection, evaluation, and use that period of time of doing those things as a springboard into what is next, as opposed to feeling hopeless. And I think this is a time in our world where people need to have an understanding of that and to be comfortable with that. Yeah. So we've got the links. I'm going to put them back up here. So you've heard it from the many.
Yay.
You've heard it from the many, and we want the book to gain visibility. We need you to buy it. We need you to read it, review it, and share it with someone.
Yeah.
Share it with someone.
Yeah. The reviews take a few days to go on, guys, as well. It's not just an automatic thing. So I keep refreshing Amazon.com, and the reviews still aren't there. And we know there's 3 that should be on there already.
There's
so,
more. There's more. And
there's going to be more. Yeah.
Not showing up. Yeah. So
yeah, it does take a bit of time. Sometimes they all just go straight away, and they'll all just be added straight away, But
yeah.
I love what you said, Gail, about there's kind of this hopelessness, but the book allows you to really, as you read it and then read the poem and actually look at the questions and exercises as that is to really, really dig deep into, as we've said before, really dig deep into you don't have to know every single thing, but you need to have hope, not hopelessness. You need to have hope. And really, again, deep down, going back to faith and knowing that if you fall down, you get up again. You fall down, you get up again. And you keep going always with everything that you do, is that it's going to make you better and you're going to learn more. So as you said, Gail, as you were going through your journey, the doors were shut abruptly and you were on another path, a different door opened. Do you know what I mean? But there's always lessons to learn and things like that. But I love your book, Gail, because it really opens the kind of portal for everybody, because we're all unique and different. We've all walked a different path of life. We've all been through different things. And someone may have lost their mom, but someone else may have lost their mom, and it's completely separate and different, and be experiencing things differently in grief and everything. But it really helps you to channel into really personal stuff. So, you could get a notebook, you could turn it into a journal and have that alongside the book, but it really does open up. And I love what you said before, Gail, as well, that your book in itself is unique and different to everything else. It's not what people would necessarily expect to have. And that's what makes it different and stand out from everything else on the market, because you yourself are different. You're bringing something else to the table, and it'll make you stand out from everybody else and top of mind as well. It really is incredible that you're giving the people opportunity to, open and expand their minds. You're not telling them and dictating to them what to do, but you're opening up so that they're full of, instead of fear, resentment, agony, upset, and all those negative things, you're bringing them on the path to the journey of actually forgiving themselves for something, or going into prayer, giving themselves permission to change their mind about something, and really go into the kind of the heartfelt things of love, happiness, kindness, joy, and giving themselves permission and taking the weight off the shoulders and being patient with themselves and nurturing themselves in order to find the answers. Because there is a lot of outside influence. There's a lot of noise out there all the time, and it can kind of cloud our judgment and cloud our decisions. And one of your ladies who was on before said there's so much that you can't actually hear anything but the noise, and you just need the quiet time, you know what I mean, in order to, and give yourself permission not to be on the rat run or not to be on the go consistently. It is okay to not be okay. It is okay to sit there in silence and let it all switch off. I'll get those divine downloads and get that guidance in order to move forward. And you never know, you'll change it. Well, I know you'll change your life, and Gail knows as well. The book is going to change your life completely. But, in order to do that, and in order to really make those life-changing decisions, you do need to quieten down a little bit and trust in Gail, trust in God, and move forward with everything and get the book.
I don't know how we as a society, and it seems worldwide, like it seems like a global thing, that we seem to pride ourselves in filling up our lives with stuff that we have to do. And I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone. If you heard earlier, I gave Rebecca a list, like, woo, so long, which in all fairness, that really was me weighing all of the options that I had in front of me and just saying, I could go in this direction, I could do that, I could do this. This is what I need, and I could accomplish it by attacking that or going this way or whatever. So that was really more about having my fingers in a lot of things to kind of figure out what was the right path for me to take. And sometimes that's part of the process too, which I think in the book, I encourage people to not be afraid of that and to explore. But anyway, I'm just as guilty of taking on more than I really can chew. And I don't do it because I want to be a busy person. At the time, I oftentimes will think, gosh, that just sounds like something I would love so much to do. I'm sure I can fit that in. And not really taking enough time to evaluate whether I really can take that in. And I'm really trying to be more, I'm giving myself more permission these days to take the time to really consider, can this truly fit in my day? Or is there just a piece of it I could, or is it something I need to put on the back burner for another time in my life? I mean, even at 65, because I'm expecting at least another 20 years. So So
Exactly. And one thing I want to say to everyone watching right now is, as Gail said, she gave me a great big list and it was huge. And I really encourage everyone to just, if you are multi-passionate like Gail, I am as well, I get so many ideas, I just park them in a notebook, is get it out the head and write it down. They're not going anywhere once they've written it down. Even if you've got, I've got an app on my phone called Evernote. So write it down if you're kind of using an app, or write it in notebook and pen if you're old school, and just write it down. And it's better to get it out the head on paper, and then you know what you're working with, and then go from there and do all the techniques that Gail's just said, and yeah, it's amazing. I still remember the time that you gave me that list, and it's just, I mean, we've known each other since February, and you've just, honestly, since I've known Gail, she's just grown and expanded, and there's so many messages where I'm going, yes, this is incredible and everything, and it's just, cheering her on every single step forward. And with Gail, even with working with me since February, it's kind of, her path's changed a little bit, and we're like, it's all right, we can, you know what I mean? So you're going to do that, but the book is really going to help you to really hone in and gain clarity on a lot of things that you may not have even thought about before. And the book, Gail, God, and yourself, is going to give more permission than anything before to kind of just ease in, be present in the moment. Don't feel as though you've got to run the race. You're not Usain Bolt. You might be a Mo Farah. You might be doing a marathon instead. Life isn't a rush, but we only have one, and it's very precious. So really hone in, get clarity, see what you're good at, see what you don't want to do anymore, and really work through the book, and know that you can relate to Gail in the book. You can really, when you read the poem, really dive deep with that, and really kind of go slow as you read it and let it sink in, and then write down the thoughts that come along whilst you're reading it. It's going to help you to, experience more and get more out of the book too. Yeah.
I had a thought when you were talking. It popped in my head and it ran right back out. That's why I'm pausing, because I'm like, what was that I was going to say? It was good. Oh, well, it couldn't have been that good, right? It's gone. Oh, I know what it was. I'm glad that we've had the time tonight to talk about, other things than specifically the book at times, because I think, I want people to understand that it's not that, that anything that I share, I am just sharing what I have learned through things that I have done, and that I'm not just somebody who's read a textbook on how to change your mindset, or how to live a prosperous life, or no. It's not that I've done that and now I learned this thing and I'm going to teach it to you and you can do it. And no, it's life mixed in. It's tons of life mixed in, and it's knowing how to bend and sway and move and continue to reevaluate, not be afraid of that. Marcy's coming on. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let her hop on now. I knew she'd be coming on soon. So let me just find my little thing here. Hey, how are you?
Hi, am I too early?
Oh, no, you are perfectly fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Right. So this was easy to get on, right? It was
very easy. Very easy.
To do. So Marcy, well, why don't you tell everyone how we know each other and how long we've known each other, and just because it's just kind of fun. Why don't you do that? Because they've heard me just gabbing away all night. So.
Well, it's interesting, just thinking about since I've moved here, it's only been a little over a year. I've moved into this new neighborhood right about the same time a year ago, but I've only known Gail for about 6 months. But it seems so strange to me because I feel like I've known her forever because we just had an instant connection. And we met through walking our dogs in the neighborhood and just started talking about things. And it's just been a wonderful experience. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to have gotten to know her through my dog Tucker and her dog. But I'm also I don't believe in coincidence, and I do believe I'm one of those that I'm here for a reason. I just kind of threw faith to the wind, didn't know anybody in Kernersville, don't have any friends, was at a long time job, and here's where I am. And I just, I'm so fortunate that I found this neighborhood and Gail. So long story short, that's how we know each other.
I love it that we catch each other in the morning early, and
yes,
we've had wonderful conversations out in the common area while our doggies just go off on their own, ignoring us. It's great. Well, also I know that we've, in some of the conversations that we've had in our morning chats and evening chats while we've been dog walking.
yes.
I felt like that the book would be something that would be of value to you as well at this season of your life. So would you just tell everybody kind of overall what your thoughts were about the book, and then we can look at some specifics.
Oh, and I'm just gonna, I'm a very direct kind of person, and I think that's what I'm known for among my close friends. But I hate to read. I'm gonna be honest. I do not like to read. It's a chore for me. I have to read because of my job all the time. But this book is so interesting because I just keep coming back to it. I think it's amazing. I think it's inspirational, and it is so relatable I love it when you can, pick up a Bible or pick up a book and it's like, this was written for me. This relates to me. And that's the way I feel about this book. It's funny because I navigate back to it, and I'm drawn back to it, and I'll read a little bit. Like last night I was reading a little bit and focusing on the questions. And I find myself nodding my head with affirmation. And I think it's funny because I don't like to read. I just, it's always been a chore. So this, again, I love that about the book. And it's just amazing to me how I want to pick it up. I want to read it. And each time I'm learning something different. Now, for me, I find it challenging because I don't do a really good job of focusing on myself. So that's really hard to be asking questions like, what are my gifts? And that's hard to do. But each time it's getting a little easier. So thank you, Gail, because those are things we need to be able to do in life. But it's hard, let me tell you. It's very hard. But I love it. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being honest about that. And I can relate to reading. It's very rare I finish a book.
Yeah.
I love reading, but it's hard for me to keep reading some things and it's hard for me to finish sometimes. And it's also that I've had most of my life, it's been hard for me to think about me and who I am, and to think that it's okay to have thoughts that maybe there were good things in me. That's been hard for me to accept over the years. So I appreciate your honesty with that too. So who would you recommend the book for?
That's interesting because I think we're all on. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's Tucker.
And Sketch heard Tucker's thing, and he started barking. He
sorry.
He's outside the window. I'm going to mute for a second while you talk.
Yeah. So for me, I think I find it so relatable, and I have shared it with a couple of friends just recently. And I think that's the interesting part. I think we're all on different journeys and paths in our lives, but we can all relate. I think the way you share your story and the struggles that you've gone through and how positive you are, I think people can get so much out of that because we all have difficulties in our life, but the inspiration that comes out of it. So there's really nobody that when I think about it, sharing with people, it's almost anybody. Now, I do have some friends that they may be struggling with, they may not believe in God, or their beliefs are a little bit different. But I've also been thinking it's great for them too, because it's an affirmation and helps them also, if I share with them, getting to know me better. But it's also, I love people to be open-minded and go into things looking at, you don't have to believe everything, because there's lessons in this book regardless of your faith. And also, it's also a wonderful way that maybe it will open their hearts to getting to the, because we all have been in places of darkness where faith it seems so far away from us when it's really closer than ever. But one thing I love sharing with people is when I've seen people go through difficulties in their life, the one thing that I admire, and it's so inspirational to me, is it's so easy to be thankful for the things we have when things are going well. But when you see people that are going through things like you're going through right now, it's a difficult time of year, to see your strength and your faith and your positivity, that for me is, because I do see people that are on the opposite. Things are great, and when things go bad, all of a sudden they're angry, they don't believe in God, they're arguing with God, and we all have different paths. But this kind of book I also see for people that are struggling in that way, it's very helpful too. So, and I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, but the book is very interesting to me. It's just kind of opened so many different doors for me.
That's awesome. No, I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I love this. I love this. And I think you're giving us a little bit of a different spin than some of the other people that I've had on tonight. So this is wonderful. I love I love the diversity in how the book is affecting different people's lives. And so no, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So what was the most what was your golden nugget in the book? What's your favorite part, and what do you take away from it the most right now?
There's no one favorite part. I think, every time I go back to it, there's something different. And I love the messaging that you weave through the pages. I think the hope and motivation to never give up on our dreams. I think, again, that's where it's relatable. I think, and from looking at it from my life and friends in my life, and when they're down or they're struggling and you try and talk to them, I think that's the thing about your book. It's just, it's the messaging throughout the book. Don't give up, keep in faith. It's just, keeping that conversation open with God. The poem, of course, I love the poem because and I think I wrote in one of my reviews, I love the story of how the poem came to be. You sat down and you just started writing. It's almost like it was inspired, and you just started writing. And then how you didn't, while you were writing it, realize what a gift it was until you sat down and read it. And how you cried. And we all have those moments where things come to us and we don't know how they came to us, and they're gifts, but I love that. I mean, top 10 of the book, and I love everything about it. That resonated with me. I love how you describe your faith walk throughout the book, and how fear can creep in and hold us back. And that's always been a big thing for me. And, people that take that leap of faith, I've taken it in ways with security. Like I moved here and I took a leap of faith, but I had a job. I didn't take the leap of faith without knowing I had an income, right? And that support. But those people that, it's like when you're younger and all those people are at the pool and they're on the diving board and they're all like, come on, Marcy, jump. And I'm like, I get up there and I'm like, yeah, no. And I know the water's deep and I know I can swim. So it's that leap of faith without having the security behind it. And I think that's what I'm going through in my life, right? I just love that's what you're doing. It's that leap of faith, trusting in God, and things may not look like they can work out, but they do. And that's hard to do. So this book is inspiring me in that way as well. So there's so many parts of it. And of course, the questions in the back, those are the ones I constantly go back to. And each time I read them, I struggle answering and focusing on myself. And so I think you've kind of woven through the book too. It's like, it's very hard. Like, do I have gifts? And do I don't have, like, you're a beautiful and amazing artist and writer. And I'm like, I don't have those. I can't sing. I love to sing. And, if anybody ever believed in past regressions or life, if God gave us different, I somehow they were singing in my soul, but it is not coming out of my, but I just, they're not like noticeable, right off the top kind of gifts that you can see. And so I'm working through those. And I think that's a really interesting challenge because I know I have them.
So I would ask you this, with a love that you have for singing, and you don't think that you can sing.
Oh, I can't sing.
But would you be challenged to think about, I'm sorry, Sketchy. I think he hears your voice and he knows Tucker's nearby.
Tucker's going, what is that sound?
I know.
I know you're having to stop it. Sorry.
And my mom can't quiet him down out there, so he's on his own. Barking. I can't do much about it at this point. But
Okay, I'm putting it.
but would you?
He's good. Okay, Tucker's done.
I should have just put Sketch outside for the night. But
I'm sorry.
yeah, but maybe as you work through some of those questions, you find yourself asking, what is this passion for singing? How is it supposed to, like, why do I have this love for singing, and go from there? So you never know where that may lead you. You never know.
I think it's
You never
because
know.
it touches my heart, and it's the stuff that I love to sing. It's just, it touches my heart deeply. And I mean, I'm one that, I can walk into church and I'm brought to tears, and people are looking at me like, what is wrong with you? It's just how I feel. I mean, that, and I think singing does that to me too, because for whatever reason, that's why I wish I had the voice to go with the feeling. But I think a lot of that is it's a different type of connection. It brings us above, the human part of who we are. And I think it just puts us in touch with our faith and our souls a little bit.
Right. What are some of the questions that are your favorite questions that you're working with the most? Can you think of one or two of them that you keep coming back to on a basis?
Yeah, I think, like the first one, how and where do you add values to others' lives? Even though we know we do that, it's hard. It's really hard thinking about what we do for others. I mean, a lot of people, we don't like thinking about it. It's very hard to do. And so that's a hard one. And it really got me thinking. It's very interesting how, at the end of life, when we're moving on and we're going home, and you have those, I'm sure there's some point where there's a reckoning when you have to go through, what you've done in life. And I think about that a lot lately, about maybe the first part of my life, there's some things that I'm like, but the second half, I don't want to have a lot of those, right? So I'm thinking about in terms of, it's more about how we can do for others. And so I do think a lot about that. And even in the little daily of acknowledging somebody, and like today in a restaurant, I was with a friend of mine, and we were sitting there, and there's a gentleman across the table, and he was alone, and elderly. I have a very soft heart for, and just seeing like, oh my gosh, he's alone. And she's looking at me, Marcy, no, he's not. There's 2 other menus. He's waiting on somebody. And I'm like, okay. Cause I was like, should we get him lunch? Should we do something? So I think my eyes are just a little bit more open to things like that. But thinking about what we do, I mean, it's hard to think. It feels selfish doing that. So the questions that's what I'm trying to work through. I'm struggling with. It feels selfish to think about my gifts or things that I bring or the value. So yeah, but it's good. It's good to do. It's just not easy.
Because it's when we and I've wrestled with this myself, and I've had to have a piece about this, that in order for me to use the gifts that God's given me, I have to accept that He has given them to me to do great things with them. And I think sometimes, I don't know if it's our culture, or I don't know where it comes from, but I think that too many of us have this idea that we can't think like that, or, we can't think too highly of ourselves. And it's not that we're thinking highly of ourselves. It's that we're accepting a gift that we've been given, and we want to use it to add value. And that's a different mindset than it is to think, if I have this talent, then I'm great. You know what? I can tell you, I'm nowhere near the greatest author, and I'm nowhere near the greatest artist on the planet. But I hope that people love what I write, and people love what I paint, because they love who I am behind it, because of what I bring to those things. And that, I don't want to I don't want my life to come to an end and I have regrets. I don't want to wish I had taken advantage of a situation, or I had wished that I had done something somewhere, or, whatever. I don't want to have those regrets on the day that I want to be able to say, I did what I did, and I did what I did as well as I could. And I'm happy with that. And I'm ready to go now.
But too hard. And I think too, it's just one of the things, you know, because I see it a lot in young people today, that the peer pressure, the influence, and
Yeah.
it's really sad to me. It's like not being afraid to stand on your own and say, this is not right. We don't do this. And it is hard. And I do see, you know, I remember being young, I remember there's always been peer pressure, but I see it more with younger kids nowadays. And I just, you know, that is something. That's why I think even when your book, it's good for us to read it, because it just takes us right down to the core and the foundation, and it's a level playing field. And it's good to have those conversations, and it's good to bring people into those conversations, because, you know, there's free will, there's good, there's bad, there is evil in the world. But at the end of the day, we are human, and sometimes that gets the worst of us, right? And it's the forgiveness, and it's the understanding, and yeah, getting caught up in the day-to-day human part of everything. And I think your book is helping me, because I'm more thoughtful as I'm going into a meeting. I'm like, I don't want to be on this call with you. You know, it's like, stop complaining. You know, it's good. It's that good, you know, cold water in the face, wake up call. So I just love that. And the questions are good, because you think about your talents and your gifts and your passions. And like for me, you know, if you ask anyone that knows me, they're like, oh my gosh, she's passionate about her job. She loves her job. And I'm like, as I think about it now, I'm like, no, I'm not. And I think it's because I say I'm passionate, and I go in it full heartedly, and they think I can walk away from it tomorrow. And I think that's where your book is also helping me. It's like, because this is not what I want to do. Right. So I've got people think this, and I'm like, no, when people say they could, you know, they'd win the lottery and keep working, I'm like, that is not me. I will do something, you know, whether it's charity or doing other things, but that's not me. But again, your book is really helping me be honest with myself. So again, thank you.
I love that, being honest with yourself. I love that. My first husband really taught me. He was a very confident man, and I was not a very confident person, not in any way, shape, or form. And I really watched him over 25 years of marriage. I watched how he was able to walk in a room and say something, and if he stumbled, he would laugh at it.
Wow.
And it didn't bother him. It was okay with him to be human. And watching him for 25 years, I began to experiment with being okay with who I am. And I do hope that as people work through the book, that they will find confidence in who they are and find joy in being that person.
Yeah.
So I hope that will do that for you.
Oh,
And
it is doing that for me. It's like it's so weird. It's like not an out of body experience, because it's like, you know, this is the way I'm a human, but it's like, we know who we really are, right? We know this person that we are. We get caught up in this day to day. And it's like, how do you perfect that? How do you, there's no perfect science to this, right?
Right.
It's just living in faith. And it's a constant reminder. It's like you say, you know, have those conversations, God, keep his presence known, because that is what in your daily walk through life, when those negative forces, and sometimes we're the ones that create them, you know, we're the domino effect. We're the first domino. Sometimes it's recognizing that. And I think that's the grounding of your book. That's the stuff, like reading that and then waking up in the morning and having that, I'm not going to be that first domino, or I'm not going to be the one that continues to be in the line. I'm going to stop it, right? I'm going to try. I'm going to be conscientious. And that's the stuff that I think that's so important. And that's what your book does. And that's they're simple lessons, and they're like, duh, but yet we just can't seem to get it. You know, it's like, it's a struggle, but it shouldn't be, right? It just should not be this hard. But, you know, that's the human side. And this is, you know, we're not perfect, but we know who we really are in Christ. So I love it, because it's opening my eyes, and it's important. It's important that we all find that journey. But sometimes in sadness, people just have different paths, and we just can't judge for that.
right. But can you just imagine a world of people like really beginning to experience or understand what value they add to the world, and all this value starts being added to the world? Woo!
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is, and it's exciting. And then, you know, someone always has to pull it back, but there's purpose in that too, right? I think our simple little human minds just cannot comprehend. And that's where the faith comes in, you know, and You know, can you see it? Can you touch it? Well, not from a scientific perspective, but it's there and it is more real and more. But yeah, some people, I have some friends that just think I'm crazy, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's fine because I am. But it's crazy in Christ, and people, you know, but they love me for it, you know. And
Right.
today, like you said, I think you put in your work. These are really challenging times, not just with COVID and everything around us, but I just think the political and the negativity and you know, I'm even trying to pull myself away from the news. And I think that's why just picking up your book and the positivity and reading through that and working through things versus, you know, it's important to know what's going on around you a little bit, but not to get so it's just really bringing you down to the point where it's, you know, you got to let go of some of these things.
Right. Yeah.
But no,
Yes.
it's amazing. And I'm looking forward to your next book. And your journey is a great one. And I love how you've just taken, I know you've gone through a lot and I pray for you because this is a tough time of year. And you've been through a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost a year. It's almost a year.
Almost. Yeah.
It'll be an interesting Christmas because it wasn't much of a Christmas last year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but well, Marcy, I really appreciate you. I think you're just a doll. And like you say, I haven't known you for long, but we've been friends forever, haven't we?
We have.
And I really appreciate you coming on and reading the book, even though you don't like reading.
No,
And
this was easy. I mean, I'm telling you, if reading were like this, I would read a lot more. I would read every
okay. That's excellent.
No, but thank you. And you know, I'm always here if you need me and Tucker. So
You're so sweet. You really are. And if you ever want to meet the sweetest dog on the planet, you have to meet Tucker. He loves all human beings.
he does.
We should all be more Tuckers.
Yes. He is a very peaceful soul, that's for sure.
He is. He really is. Okay. Well, I'll probably see you in the morning.
I will.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yay! I loved it how the dogs were trying to talk to one another, and Tucker heard your voice and Sketch heard her voice. Oh, it was amazing. I love it.
That was funny.
I was laughing so much.
I didn't take that into consideration because, you know, dogs have great hearing. And of course, he recognized Marcy's voice. And
Marcy's voice and Sketch, and then Sketch,
And then they heard each other barking, and the two dogs are friends, you know, they're little buddies. And so, oh my goodness, that was chaotic.
Love it. Can I touch on what Marcy's just said about faith, you know, that you can't see it, but you know, it's there. It's the same as love, right? You can't see love, but you know, it's there. It's the feeling that you get. And I loved what Marcy said about, you know, the faith, because as soon as she said that, I was like, well, love's exactly the same as that. Right. So it really is about really having belief in, even though you can't see it,
right?
It's the faith that it's there. It's the faith of all of it. It's really, really good.
You know, that said, I'm going to tell you about something that someone asked me to do many years ago. Was after, it was a very, 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 really rough season of our lives. I can't go into detail. I'm not going to do that. But it was it was a very disturbing year, and a lot of things I was in turmoil a lot. And very fearful for some people's lives in my circle. And I was always very upset. I was always very nervous. And I bumped into one day a gentleman that I had met some time back who was a Christian psychologist. And I just happened to bump into him shopping one day. And he asked me how things were going with this particular person. And I told him, and I told him what my concerns were and how, you know, I went into some detail with him because he knew some of the story. And he said to me, he said, can you call me tonight? I want to help you do something that I think will help you. So we got on the phone that evening, and he asked me to close my eyes and sit in a quiet place. And the first thing was he asked me to picture a place that I thought would be the most serene place that I could be surrounded by. And so I thought of a minute, and I pictured this field of tall, cool grass with flowers, and you could smell the flower. He asked me to think about what I could hear, what I could smell, and really see the place, this beautiful place. And there were trees, and birds were singing in the trees. And then he said, you know, do you picture this place? Can you smell it? Can you hear it? And I said, yes. And he said, now I want you to see Jesus. Do you see Jesus standing in the field with you? And I said, I see him in a distance. And he said, well, you know, see what he looks like. Do you picture him? And I, you know, took a few minutes to think about that. And he said, now he's holding his hands out to embrace you. Can you see that? And so I said, yes, I can. And he said, can you see him holding this loved one you're concerned for? And I said, yes, I can. And so we went. Of course, this was over a very long period of time. It wasn't, yeah, okay, I can see it. Yeah, okay, I can see it. But for me, in that little exercise, and it was just an exercise, it's not that I really went into some kind of a trance and saw Jesus standing there. But, you know, what he was asking me to do was to imagine what I have my faith in. So I put my faith in the fact that Jesus is always there for me, that he's always ready to embrace me. And he gave me the opportunity to, in the best way possible in our humanness, to actually see what I had put my faith in. And to take it a step further, that even this loved one was embraced by Jesus. And the whole thing was very, it really helped me find ways to calm myself down and go to the place that I trust the most, and remember what that is. So as you were saying about love and faith, sometimes it can take actually having to imagine seeing that thing we're putting our faith in. Yeah, it's very good. Very good. So maybe that's another book.
Maybe write it down. Write it down. I love that. And it is. It's kind of, some people kind of can feel as though they're off track and stuff, and they don't know any techniques to get back onto track and things. And your book is really going to help so many people in order to do that as well. So, you know, I loved every single person who's been on tonight. They've got their own perspective of things and everything. But they all combine. One thing is that this book is amazing. You are incredible. Everyone needs this book. So, yeah. You're on mute, Gail. I can't hear you, honey.
the little cursor thing that floats around on the screen, and
Yeah.
I'm like looking over here, and then I can't find it, and I think I've clicked it. And so yeah, that's just part of the humanness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
can I just touch on, you've just reminded me then, you know, when you spoke about your husband and he used to trip and then laugh, I laugh at myself. I fell up the stairs and I laugh at myself. I mean, you need to laugh at yourself, you know,
Right.
Everyone's human. So, you know, loved it.
Yeah. And you know what? We were talking earlier about giving permission to people. You know, I've needed people to give me permission to laugh.
Yeah.
When I thought it wasn't okay to laugh, you know, or, you know, whatever it is, sometimes we just need someone to say,
yeah,
you have permission to do that, you
Yeah.
know, as a person. And I think it's important that when we've learned that lesson, because, you know, if it's something that comes natural to you, you don't even know someone else needs to know that. But if it's something you yourself have been transformed by, then you know someone else needs that as well. So you have that to offer. So
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Yay.
Well, we have 20 minutes, but what do you think? Do you think we've really covered everything? And you think we really need to stay on another 20 minutes?
I mean, I think everything you've been doing is awesome. You know, the whole book, you know, giving people time to read the book, buy it, read it, review it, share it out, tag Gail in, everyone who's watching, tag Gail in, put it in your stories, put it in your posts on your wall, in your pages, in groups, share it in groups and everything else as well. And let's come together and let's see what we can do over the next today, tomorrow. Obviously, I'm ahead of USA time, so it's 20 to 1 in the morning. So, you know, kind of see what we can do today, tomorrow, and the next day. And let's see if we can really get as many people investing in this book, getting this book out into so many households, changing lives, transforming lives, and, you know, making an impact. And the way Gail makes an impact, not only showing up and doing the work and writing and everything else, is that let's get Gail's work, which is outstanding and remarkable, as the massive testament to the person she is anyway, but let's get it into as many homes as possible so that we can get her up the ranks, so it then is positioned even more to get out even more to people, because it is about showcasing so much, and it really is going to be so impactful to so many people around the world, let alone USA, Canada, India, UK, Europe, everywhere. It's going to be awesome.
Well, I think it's been a great night. We've had
Been
a lot of insight, a lot of stories. Yeah. But I feel like we've done what we set out to do this evening. So I know it's almost 1 o'clock for you. I'd love to see you go ahead and get some rest, and I think we'll just keep chiseling away at this over the next few days.
Fantastic.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Keep on it. And thank you so much to everyone who is supporting Gail. She is an absolutely remarkable human being, such a kind soul. You'll probably all agree with me if you know her as well. But please, let's get this book out there to many people. It's a wonderful work of art through words and poetry and everything. It's just awesome. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for spending the evening with me, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
And
You're welcome.
For everyone who has hopped on to visit, to listen, to hear, to participate, and to share tonight. It's all been very, very appreciated. Yeah. And I feel very supported and loved by all of that. So thank you all. Have a good night, everyone. You are loved. Bye-bye.
Bye.